even if it doesn't even cut you off, I just think if it overall makes those relationships substantially better, like much more so, then I think you should try to change yourself for that. Wait, nah, we won't talk about that because early. Happy birthday.
Oh, thanks. Well, how's it going?
Good. I was actually wondering that. I always see Hassan always has like famous people come through doing his guest appearances and stuff like that. Do you try to ever organize your streams that way to get people to come on to do variety type streams?
No, I'm waiting for Kyla to finish setting the studio up downstairs. I have a slightly more professional place because it just feels weird. Like imagine I bring in like a pretty like a professional type person to have like a talk like this. It feels just kind of weird. Like I don't like Hassan's setup for that. I wouldn't want to do that. Not that it's good or bad. I would rather have like a table and like have a chat and like cameras and stuff set up. I think, yeah.
I wonder though because I feel like the impersonal feel of it or like the non-professional feel of it makes it more accessible to like regular people who watch streams and things like that. And it's also refreshing, like when you see somebody who's normally like always behind a desk and they're like, all right, so today's topic, and then they're getting into it in a very like format, like debate segmenty way. Just seeing them on stream with somebody else in a free form, not so constructed context is actually like a little bit different.
I agree with you if that's the vibe you're going for, 100%.
Okay.
So let's say me and Ben, we do our debate in January and then we kind of like shoot the shit after and we're like become like bros.
Okay.
And I'm like, do you want to stop by my apartment? We can like do a stream and chat. That'd be one thing. That would be fun. That would like this because you're here doing this, yeah. But if Ben or somebody else wanted to have like a formal conversation, I don't think I would want to debate like this.
No.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So it's just like the vibe you're going for. Yeah. I do have people come over and do stuff like this. It works. It's fun. But for like because the people that I want to talk to are a bit more. I want to have more like. I don't say professional because that's the point, but like debate oriented or argument or like formal type conversations. Yeah.
Got you.
Let's see. So you're hanging out in Miami, not doing anything crazy.
Just seeing how you're doing in person. Yeah. You go through some life changes. Yeah, even though you're on the outside, you're like, I'm chilling. I was like, let me be here. I didn't know it happened to be your birthday as well, though. That was actually a surprise for me.
Oh, yeah, surprise for everybody.
Yeah. December 12th. Actually, I got you something.
Oh, God.
It's not it's decent.
Okay.
All right, here you go. We won't make it drawn out. No tears.
Oh, my God. Exter. Welcome to my unboxing, guys.
There you go.
Good weight.
Yeah,
okay.
Pop it open.
Feels, I like the material on the box. Okay. Open it here. Oh, we got some wrappings up here. Okay. We have a nice, is it a wallet?
Yeah. I saw your wallet. It looked outdated and old as shit. So I was like, I think
Look, outdated and old as shit? What do you mean by that? Oh, it's got like a card thing and everything. Wow, how cute.
Simple color. I know you like your wallet black.
Yeah, I do. Represent. Is this is for cards and this is for cards? Or is this for
You
like
can put
money?
cards, you can put some cash, whatever. There's also a strap over here. So on this you can put money if you want. It's really good. Yeah.
Okay. A little bit bigger, but well, thank you.
Do you need it even thinner? Would you prefer a thinner version?
No, I think it's probably fine.
How many cards do you normally carry on you?
I try to keep it like to less than 8, including like my ID and everything. Probably have like 8 or 9 in here.
Here's a thinner version then.
Jesus.
I got 2 of them. I didn't know which one you'd prefer, so.
Okay.
Super thin.
Super thin version. Wow. Awesome.
Cool. That one you can put the cash on the inside. Over here, or extra cards, whatever you want. It takes about 6 cards on the inside.
Okay. I like it in blue. Did you bring a thin blue one?
I can get you a thin blue one if you want.
No, I'm just kidding. All right. Well, shit. I'll daily driver these.
All right. Keep both. You can just go between both.
Yeah. Well, sick. Thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Ask Abba. Wait, hold on. What did he say? Ask Abba where he got it. I might have worked there.
Got what?
The wallets, I'm assuming.
This is a company called Extra. I'd worked with them in the past, and I liked some of the stuff they did, so I kept some. Got some. Yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you. Wait, when is your birthday?
In April.
Okay. Do you think we'll still be friends then?
Probably. You know what's so funny?
What?
It's like I've been getting messages like every day, just be like, "When are you gonna cover the Destiny stuff?" I'm like, why would I cover the homie getting divorced? I feel like that's so weird.
You can always cover it. It's all good. It's all Gucci. It's all part of it.
I have zero desire to. Like, I don't even know what I would talk about.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, do you think open relationships work? I'm like, not for many people, not for most people. No.
Yeah.
There you go. Is that the hot take you guys wanted?
That's what we wanted. Yeah. We need to shit down
I don't really
throat.
buy into a lot of like the red pill stuff, so I don't know. Like, I understand why it's content for them; it makes perfect sense. But for me, it's like they try a relationship, didn't work. My man, both of them made mistakes. Is what it is.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do?
Is there anything else more that really needs to be said? I mean, hey, listen, I understand why the red pill people are covering, but yeah.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go.
I've been linked 100 videos of, yo, could you believe this mother?
Yeah, jeez. Give me 1 second. Wait.
Here you go, chat. This is the only time. You guys can ask me whatever question you want on the topic. Go ahead. Yeah, let me go to YouTube chat because I feel like DGG think they're special and shit. So let me go to YouTube chat. Gotcha. Anything else? Let's see. Someone said, "Did Mel leave for you?" Y'all wild in the YouTube chat. I see you. You know, the funny thing is, like, I don't think I've ever. I think I said happy birthday to Mel once, and I've never spoken to her outside of that. Got no beef with her. I don't really talk to her. We just shared a dance one time. Yeah, I had a lot of people like, oh my god, they were writing fanfics of like with me and her. I was like, you guys are bugging out. And it's so bizarre when it's someone you have zero interactions with. What does Destiny smell like? He doesn't smell like anything. I said this before. Destiny looks taller and better in person than he does in video.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, you look like dog shit in every picture I see you. But in person, you look like a real human being.
I'm very not photogenic.
Not at all.
I'll be in like 2 different events, and in one, like everybody will say I look like I gained like I'm like 250 pounds, and then I'll be like in the next event, and people will say like he's like a skeleton. And just, all that weird shit.
Yeah. So all you people consuming Destiny through the screen, like you actually be surprised you saw him in person. Like I'm sure a lot of people who've come to live events have said something similar to you.
Unfortunately, usually the comment is just like, I thought you'd be way shorter. They say that's every fucking day. Yeah. Like, do you actually think I was like a 5'2"?
I thought so too. I remember when the first time I saw you, I was like, oh, okay. All this talk about like tiny and this, that, like the nickname doesn't help. Where did the tiny come from?
Destiny, Tiny, you know?
Okay. Gotcha. So, in light of everything that's constantly happening all around you, are you tired of it? Are you sick of it already?
Of what?
Of your life being discussed ad nauseum everywhere.
I usually am pretty good about bouncing back. Like my mental baseline is pretty high. Usually, there are certain things that I know will trigger the fuck out of me. So like right now, like if I were to go and start stalking like Melina's like social media, there would be things that I would think about it would trigger the fuck out of me. But I just don't.
Wait, it would chew you because of the context that you have with her, and you're like, oh, why is it so different now?
Because of a lot of stuff that I know that would bother the fuck out of me.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
But I'm not like spilling everything everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Or I sent you a thing that had a lot of information about that. I don't know how much of that you peeked through, but
about what?
The stuff that had happened over the past couple months.
Well, I mean, there's the stuff that you and I discussed privately, and that's all I looked into. So I haven't.
But regardless of that, yeah. So I'm trying not to blow anybody's shit up.
Yeah.
But like that, yeah. But as long as I like avoid things that I know, like if I start running down this hole, it's gonna trigger the fuck out of me. Usually, if I go to sleep, I wake up, and my mindset is always like, as long as things are moving towards a better place, then I think that'll be okay.
Yeah.
And something I've been talking about on stream recently, especially over the last month, as I've kind of like reevaluated a lot of things in my life, is like on this year, I've done a really good job at making new friendships, at making new professional contacts, at keeping toxic people at like an appropriate length.
That is true. I see your YouTube. You're doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you making some bread. The AdSense dollars coming in.
Yeah. But I had a couple of holdovers from the past that were still like pretty toxic, and Cherry was one of those, the BBD person, and then Melina and my relationship with her was one of those. So like technically if these things like go away, everything else in my life is doing really well, and it just gives me like an opportunity to I think move forward in a healthier way. So I mean it's all opportunities and shit.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a different question. From an ego's perspective, do you get bothered when your detractors are discussing it with this like, I told you so, and this and that and all this other stuff?
The only thing that bothers me is if I like miss something that's like I should have seen this, or I was too like ideologically motivated or something. Like if there's stuff that I had the information to see beforehand and I didn't, then I'm like, and I'll update my models accordingly. So for instance, one thing that I learned last year that was a really hard thing for me to learn, I don't know if we talked about this, but like with Max and Lav, is there are always like a few fundamental assumptions I bake into everybody's motivations, and one of those is self-preservation. Mm-hmm. And that was a really big one for how I dealt with people, because I'm like, I don't want to think of it like a leverage sense, but it's like if you have so much to lose by like trying to me over. You're not going to do it because obviously that'd be stupid. And that was a huge oversight that I had with like Max and Lab. I never would have, because if anybody would have asked me, even if Max and Lab both saw me literally rape a woman, they're not going to say anything because it would destroy their whole lives. Like, they're not going to do it.
You know what it makes me think of?
Yeah.
Do you know that story about the snake and the turtle? And like the snake is trying to cross the river.
The scorpion and the turtle. I think
okay, there you go. Yeah, so he bites it. I feel like that is very accurate for people.
Yeah.
Even though it's against their better judgment and what's good for them, they will still bite the hand that feeds them.
Yeah, I never would have imagined that. Yeah. So I'll change things going on, but like obviously I know my relationship better than anybody else, and I know I generally know what people around me want and what they're looking for. And red pillars like have all of their like thoughts and ideas about it, but one thing that helps is when people are so incredibly incorrect, like it makes it easy to like not care as much. So like, I don't know how much you like met Melina or saw Melina, or wait, you've seen us both in real life before, right?
The time that I saw you guys here, and then we went to eat afterwards, and that's the end of it.
Okay, yeah. So like these predictions, like for instance, like Melina was using me for a green card. Melina hates the United States. Like if we were never back together again, it wouldn't surprise me if she actually like abandoned the whole process. Because like, why the f does she want a green card? Like her moving here was always one of our biggest like arguments, basically. Like she held it over for a long time. Like, I moved to the United States for you, so blah 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 blah. Like, okay. A second thing was the age thing that I've said historically. The age thing was always a huge like point of contention between us, because Melina's by far the youngest person in terms of age gap that I've ever dated. Most of my girlfriends have been 1 or 2 years away from me. And like red pillar saying like, oh, you should date younger women. That's way better. And it's like, that was a point of contention. That wasn't a pro. That was a huge con. And we fought about that a lot.
So you didn't like her freshly just like legal scent?
Yeah, no. And then the idea that like, I think if Melina left, I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm trying to be somewhat respectful. But like, if Melina would have left me for like Ben Shapiro or something, I think my ego would have been a little bit like, oh, this sucks or whatever. Like this guy's like excels in the traits that I excel at, maybe arguably better than me, right? But when it's somebody that is like in a totally different world in terms of like things that they offer or things that they do, then I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like different people gravitate towards different things. So like almost every red pill prediction about like my relationship or how it would end or things going on was like completely and totally off. And you can see the way they try to like twist it to make it work. So like it doesn't bother me that much. I don't really care.
Something about using you to get their platform up.
Yeah, like even that doesn't, because like, yeah, I've met girls that try to do that. Oh, that's actually pretty rare. But like Melina's community is all like completely and totally independent from mine. Like she doesn't like, she's never leached off of my stream shit or any of that. Yeah. And if she wanted to, she probably could.
I mean, I think most people can still make the argument that it's probably benefited her to some degree having you there.
Yeah, they can.
But I don't think that I think you would probably argue that that wasn't her intention or something that she was really
considering. And that's like obvious. One thing people will do is they'll try to insert a mind state and then look at the current actions and they'll see if the actions adhere to the mind state. So they say something like, Melina is a leech, probably. And then they'll see like, well, what did she do? And it's like, well, she moved in with you. She was on some streams. And it's like, okay, that's kind of like a leech, right? But it's like, I think that's the wrong way to evaluate if the person was. I think what you have to do is you have to start over and be like, okay, let's say Melina is a leech. What would a leech do? And it would have been totally different actions than what Melina took. She would have spent way more time in the US. She would have collabed me way more on stream. She would have like told me like, can you please host me like over and over, like all these things. There were so many more things she could have done. She was like, but then it also feels dumb. It's like, I know my wife, like I know, or my ex-wife, I guess. Yeah, like I know like the things that drive her and what she wants or whatever. So yeah, but so I mean like yeah, I think that yeah, the thing that usually bothers me on public stuff is if there's something that I should have seen that I like really missed. Maybe so, for instance, maybe with like the lab stuff, like if I would have known in advance, if I would have looked up that she'd made like other weird accusations against guys, I mean, like I shouldn't be anywhere near this person personally. That's something where it's like I could have like headed this off. But otherwise, yeah, when people make like wild predictions, it's like dumb. Also because like, and I'll say this, I think I made this prediction like 2 days ago, like most likely I'll get in another relationship. It will almost certainly be an open or poly one, just because that's like the lifestyle I gravitate towards, and it'll probably end. I doubt that it's unlikely that the next person I date will be my life partner. And when all of this happens again, it'll be the exact same things where poly open relationships don't work. These girls are going to dump you because it's open, and then we break up and they'll be like, oh, look, see, we predicted everything. And I was like, okay. Yeah. What about like Steven Crowder's relationship that just ended? They were monogamous for 10 years. What about my other 4 monogamous relationships?
I think the difference for most people, and I'd probably count myself in that, is that we just don't have models of polyamorous or open relationships that seem to work in our lives. And so when we hear about this funky thing that looks so different and goes against the very traditional and the way we've only seen it work around us, it's hard for people to be open to that idea. I don't know any examples in my personal life that work, and I don't think most people who are watching know, because if you're not around these people enough, how would you ever find out? But we do have examples of monogamous relationships that work. So that's why we think, all right, well, listen, why would I think your model functions when the only ones I've ever seen are these ones that function.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. But the problem is like the level of conviction and condescension that comes from somebody. Like if somebody was like, so for instance, like a comment was like, man, that sounds wild, but like, I mean, if you guys are like f***ing other people and everything, like, yeah, it just seems like it would be like a lot more stressful, or there's like a lot more chances for things to like not work. If that was like a comment, that's fair. I totally get that, right? But it's not that. It's like, when you do this, like the nature of females is this will always blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I mean, okay, dude, yeah.
Okay, that's probably the more extreme criticism from like, red pillars generally. But what do you think to the more middle people who are just like, I don't know, from like a time perspective and emotional needs perspective, it just doesn't, it doesn't seem to track on. Because there's some people who do the extreme stuff with female nature, blah blah blah. But a lot of other people are just saying like, I don't think that's a functional way to build a bond and like grow and start to trust, because you always have somebody else you can run to when your emotional needs are not met. You always have somebody else that you can confide into or get your sexual satisfaction from, thus pulling you away from your A relationship, which should be your priority. What would you say to those?
I mean, I understand that take. I think I say as much on stream. I don't know where this impression comes from that I don't know if you've ever said this, but I see a lot of people telling me like, oh, like this is why Destiny needs to stop like telling everybody to do poly to open relationships. I've said like a million times, like I don't recommend any part of my lifestyle for anybody. Everything about my lifestyle is like pretty exceptional, like outside the norm or whatever. So yeah, I don't even know if most people would gravitate towards or enjoy this particular type of thing. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Yeah, people are like, yeah, I'm not sure if I would ever do this. They're like, okay, yeah, you don't have to. I don't think I'd even recommend it. But yeah. 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 Anything else?
Gotcha.
Broiling on your mind?
Nah, man. Honestly, I really just came down to check in and see how you're doing, and then just chop it up a little bit. That's it. I didn't come here with a bunch of debate topics and stuff like that.
What do you say?
That's why that's why I'm like, yo, listen, I'm gonna be here for like 2 hours and let you get back to your stuff, because I know I think you do streams the way I read anime, mangas, or whatever it is. Like I like to just do it like kind of singularly with this, and like generally when other people join, I kind of hate the experience. I feel like that's often how you stream, unless they add to the experience. So
sure. Have you do you have anything fun coming up?
Nah, it's the holidays, bro. I'm gonna just work through the holidays, and that's it. This is my trip. This is my trip for December.
Gotcha. Wait, did I ask, or do you say when you're going back? Like how long you're down here for?
Just a couple days, 3 days.
Okay. Somebody wants to know real quick. Give me your top 3 favorite mangas.
Nah. I hate talking about anime and manga.
It's because the last 2 authors that he really liked both got arrested for.
Making dudes. No.
I used to read Rurouni Kenshin until that guy. Yeah, okay, we got it. That's all good.
No. What you got going on later for the stream?
I don't know. I need to watch this Boogie video. There's like, because now that my divorce or maybe my breakup at least and my birthday are overlapping, I've got like 1 billion people that have messaged me. So I'm trying like every day to like keep up on like emails and messages.
Holy
and, like,
shit! Look at you being so popular.
And this is like as I'm like actively streaming, I'm trying to like do these. So it's just like a lot of shit to keep up on. And then like everybody in my life is like super mad that I don't respond enough, or that I'm ignoring them. And I'm like, listen, it's like this with everybody, blah blah blah. And like it's just really really hard to keep everything. I'm trying to keep it together. But yeah.
All right, then pop in this Boogie thing. We talking about financially responsible. I like this kind of topic. I'll stay for a little bit.
Boogie. Yeah, we can watch them if you want. Yeah.
Oh, unless you have something else you want to do.
No, I'm trying to think. Well, because I can just watch this, but
What's up?
I got Abba here in the flesh, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Is there anything else we want to chat about with Abba, or while Abba is here, or whatever? Oh, hold on. Well, while you're here, actually. Fuck it, I'll ask you some... Wait, do you say publicly, are you dating someone or not?
Yeah, I'm not dating somebody.
Okay. What do you mind? Do you say publicly? I'm only asking this because I know that you like to be private about something, so I don't want to like bully you into an answer on stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you I don't want to answer if I don't.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. How long has your longest relationship been?
It's a little over 2.5.
Okay. Okay. Was this like recent, or like were you like 15 when you had a 2.5-year relationship? Or was this like in your adult life?
No, the mid 20s.
Okay. Here, I got questions. Okay, I'm curious. Because I've done a lot of exploring in terms of how I approach relationships and what I ask for and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. How do you feel if your partner has a problem with you? How do you feel about your partner opening up like that to people? Has this been a thing that you've wrestled with in the past or dealt with at all?
I mean, my partner, I've had discussions about it. I think for me, I say like it's fine to... I don't mind if you talk to your friends about things. Just be careful about revealing certain private things about my life, because if I see your friends and they know things that I don't think they should, then I'll have an issue with you because you're the one who betrayed my trust.
Okay.
And the other thing is, you cannot just go constantly telling them every time we have an issue, because then you start to frame this idea of me in their minds that's inherently negative, even though you don't think that. They're gonna hate me because that's all you ever share. So just balance it, and that's the conversation. I'm not somebody who likes to run to my friends that often to talk about frustrations. I like to think things over. I like to like kind of process them by myself, and then if I really need outside input, I'll go through that. But I've dated people who go and I actually don't like it.
Do you think that mutual hobbies are important for relationships? Kind of a related question to this. How much time per day do you think you would ideally spend with a partner?
I don't think shared hobbies are that important. I think shared cultural references are really important. So, for example, there are probably things that you think are culturally relevant that you're like investing your time in and taking an interest in, that I think it's important to be able to talk about with your partner with in a way that they understand it.
Okay.
To be honest with you, like I remember this is the last person I saw, but she like knew a lot about the streamer world, even though she wasn't involved in it or like she like knew about certain things. And so for me, it was kind of refreshing when I was like doing research for a topic and I could talk to her about it, because she always already in the know about things.
Yeah.
And especially, I don't know if you're like this. I'm not somebody who likes to just sit down every day and be like, oh, so this is what I'm feeling. And this is like, but if it's just talking about a topic that I'm interested in or whatever, and that she gets it, then it's very enjoyable. But I don't like just brandishing that on somebody who has zero interest in that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is why, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but when I was in LA for about 3 years, I removed all my social media stuff from my profile because I wanted to talk to girls that didn't know anything about me.
Yeah.
Because something that's fun and kind of addicting, is the idea of like the kind of, I don't know if you'd say like the butterflies or the fun of like getting to know somebody for the first time and like the selectively revealing information, and like that process was fun. And up to that time, every person that I met already knew like so much stuff about me. So it kind of felt like a little bit one-sided. Like I've got to like interrogate this person to figure out stuff about their life so we can be like on an even playing field, because I don't know anything about them, right? Yeah, but they're never asking me like, oh, like what do you do for blah blah blah. They're saying shit like, oh, I saw your video with this and I remember this and blah blah blah. And for a few years that was kind of enjoyable, like getting to that new person experience. But then I gravitated towards what you said, where now I realize like I need somebody that if they're not a part of this world, they have a big understanding of this world. Yeah. Because otherwise it's so weird when I talk to them like, oh, what did you do today? And it's like, my whole life revolves around my stream. And if you don't care about these things, I literally have nothing to say to you. Yeah.
Because think about like you're going through this whole thing with like, you know, Mr. Girl and Lav or whatever. Somebody who's already in the know with this kind of stuff can just instantly plug in and you can let out your frustration rather than have to do a whole bunch of backstory explaining stuff, and then they might not even be interested at the end of it. Then it's like there's a disconnect here with something that's like really big in my life that's happening, where this person can't take an interest at all.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like you said, and it sounds like you're aware of this and I'm hyper aware of this. I hate this. I don't like to if I'm going to share something with somebody, they have to have a genuine interest. It can't be a like, I'm interested in this because it's you, babe, and I want to support you.
No.
Yeah. I've had big relationship fights with that in the past, because sometimes I've had the feeling of like the person is trying to get involved in something, but they're only doing it because they want to be involved in something that I'm involved in. They don't have the genuine interest for it. And I was like, I would rather just not be a part of this at all.
Absolutely. I get that feeling. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
You asked me about the hobbies, right?
Yeah. Hobbies. Yeah.
I don't think it's that important. I think as long as you guys make time for each other, I don't think it's that important. Yeah. In fact, I would argue that having the same hobbies can sometimes be a bit of a problem, because sometimes your hobby is your escape a little bit from everything. And having to have your partner there with you like all the time when you go can be a bit of a frustration when you just want to be able to do it by yourself. So like if I had a partner and she liked dancing, that's great. I don't want to be like glued to the hip with her every time I go out salsa dancing or whatever it might be. And I imagine for people who go to the gym, going with your partner is great, but sometimes you just want to go to get your head out of it and you don't want your partner hovering over every set you're doing or whatever it is at the gym. So I think it's good to be able to do some things in short term with each other, but your hobbies should not be so interlocked like everything is always together.
Yeah. I wonder if that has to do with hobbies or just with like how much space the other person's giving you. Because like on one hand, I could see that like having a huge overlap in hobbies would be nice because it's very easy and organic to do anything with a partner. But I'm wondering if that's good as long as the other partner knows when to like give you space. That would be the
you
only
even
thing
need
that I worry about. Yeah.
I know some people who don't take space, and that works for them. Like, you ever seen those couples who are like literally on each other all the time? I imagine for those kind of people, always being around each other for hobbies is probably comforting, because like it get rid of the feeling of insecurity that they have when their partners are not around or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, there are definitely people I see, and there have been people that I've seen like this, and I'm like, this is not going to work. Like, he's going to hit it. But they end up staying together for a long time. Like,
absolutely.
I guess maybe they do like it. Yeah, I guess it works. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of couples operate substantially differently. It's just like, what are your needs essentially? And whatever I need is going to be very different from somebody else. So just because it doesn't work for me doesn't mean it's not going to work for them.
Yeah. I'm always trying to figure out like what is the thing, because sometimes I'm trying to figure out like, is this thing important, or is it like a proxy for another thing that's important and I'm missing that. One of the things when I think back to, so for like Melina, she had our hobby overlap is non-existent. She had like totally different things. But for me, I appreciate that. I thought it was cool to watch her go out and do things, like sending me videos like jumping into fucking like rapids or some shit and like swimming through shit. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's cool that you have like a totally different set of interests than me. But then when it came time for her wanting to spend time with me, I'm like, okay, well, you're not going to play any games with me because you don't like League or anything I play. Obviously, we're not going to
go to the restaurants.
Yeah, exactly. We go out to eat or we watch a movie because like I don't really want to do a lot. Like I'll go out and like I'll hike once, or we'll go like water skiing, or like like I can do things, but it's like in general like the hobby interest, because the overlap there is non-existent. Now that becomes like a huge problem. And then I wonder for future relationships, I'm like, would it be nice to be able to shout like, hey, you want to like hit the rift and like ask a girlfriend like or a wife or whatever, like, do you want to like play a game or do something where it's like we have like a huge hobby overlap. Hit the rift. Yeah.
I'm so mad at you for introducing me to League of Legends, because I got into it and then I like lost so much time of my life during the pandemic.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I still watch esports. Like I'm always following fucking Rift shit because of you. But yeah. Hit the Rift. Keep going.
Yeah.
You were talking about doing stuff with your wife and
or anything. Like if you have that large hobby overlap, I'm trying to figure out how I feel about this. I feel like it would be so cool to have a partner that I don't know if this is toxic though, because I stream and streaming infects every part of my life. I feel like it'd be really cool to have a partner that you could like throw into your career or job related stuff. Like if you had like a politically active or motivated partner and you're like fighting on stream about some shit or whatever, and they're like in the background and they're like, I don't agree with this, and they like hop on and you like have like an argument or a discussion about it or whatever, like that would be really cool. I think.
I don't think you'd like that.
You don't think so? I think I'd love that. I think it'd be super
because
fun.
Like you'd hit them with a gotcha anything else, because like they say some boring shit that you didn't like. I feel like that'd be a source of frustration, especially like I don't care, because like I'm not that attached to you that way. If I was your partner and you hit me with that gotcha anything else, I'm like, I want to kill this man. He's not getting BJ's for a few weeks.
Okay, people always assume that's a really rude thing. It's just because it's a meme on stream. But like, what else are you supposed to say when you end a conversation? Well, thanks for chatting. Like, anything I say is going to become a fucking meme.
I don't think it's bad when you say it. My whole point is you can see the other person on the other side is just like, oh, this, you like, I like talking to you. And you're just like, gotcha.
Well, it's because the conversation is wound down. We're at a natural end. Yeah. Another important quality though is, and I brought this up.
Can I ask you? Imagine it. Okay. Yeah. Imagine you're on a date with a girl, and she's talking to you. Okay, and you guys finish a topic. She just got done talking about her day, and you hit her with the gotcha. Anything else? How do you think she would?
Obviously, that'd be really rude, and it would be like walking out. Yeah,
and it's not that different with people you're talking to in conversations.
I disagree. There's no way to politely end a conversation when somebody comes in and they start talking about a bunch of shit that I don't give a fuck about. Like, what am I supposed to say? Like, people come in and start rambling about like, I'll be like, oh, hey, what's up? John, you joined the Discord. And John's like, hey, Destiny, what's up? I just want to let you know that I saw this thing on TV today and did blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I'm literally watching a video of a dude with a pee pump. Like, what the fuck do you want me to say about this? I'm like, okay, cool. Anything else going to share with us, I guess? Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to say.
I understand your feeling, but you have to understand the other person on the other side is excited to talk to you. So they're wanting to engage with you on some level emotionally. So when you say that and you don't care, it's almost like a one-sided relationship.
I agree.
So I imagine that with your partner, I know because you can't hide that part of yourself, you would eventually hit them with that during the conversation.
I don't think I would do that with a partner. But also, listen, that's on them. If you want to be interested in me and captivated me, you can't just come to me and start rambling a bunch of random shit that you don't even want my feedback or opinion on, and then like expect me to just be excited. Like, no, come on. Like, listen, that's on them.
Maybe this is glazing you a little bit, but like you're pretty exceptionally like neurodivergent when it comes to being heavily interested in having a lot of general knowledge about a lot of different things. Sure. I think it's very easy for somebody to come into a field with you at some point and just get into a conversation. You're like, I've already heard all this shit.
A little bit. So here, I'll give a tip, okay? If you're an orbiter and you're trying to, conversationally riz me, or if you're just a person in general, okay? I think this is almost always true, okay? When there's something that I'm excited to talk about with somebody, usually what I try to build into the conversation is, are there hooks here that I can try to figure out if the person has an interest or is it relevant to them somehow. I think I would kill myself if there was like a girl or even a guy that I'm just like chatting recreationally with, and I'm like, hey dude, what's up? So today I learned all of these things about ADHD drugs, and I really think that it's really cool that like amphetamines versus methylphenidate do the blah 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 for like 2 minutes, and then at the end I'm like, yeah, people do this to me, and it's like I don't know what the I'm supposed to say. Like, why not ask me a question or relate this back to my life or find a hook where it's like, oh, have you heard of this or do you have an opinion about this? But then it's like, oh, okay, cool, I can engage. But a lot of people will just come on, and even my orbiters do this sometimes, or people will jump into my Discord and they just like dump. And then there's not even like a question for me. And I was like, I don't know. And they like finish talking. I'm like supposed to engage. Like, I don't even know I care about this topic. Yeah. Like generally when you come into Discord, you usually have a specific question or you're commenting on a specific thing. And there's like a back and forth that happens. I don't think you've ever come into Discord to just like say like 10 minutes of things and then just like wait there for me to respond. Like you typically have like a prompt or a question or something. Yeah. Or if you do come in, actually, I'll take it a step further because you're even aware of this. Sometimes you do come in just to share an experience and you're not expecting feedback, but you actually explicitly say it. There have been times you've jumped into the room and you're like, hey, I just want to give my perspective on this. You said this and I just want you to know that I've seen this or that or that or that. I just want to show that perspective. And then you're like, yeah. And because you're aware that like if you just came in and just like said that and just waited there, it would be fucking weird. But even you're aware of that. Yeah. So people do that. That's on them, not me. Okay. They need to figure that out. I'm good.
Fair. I mean, listen, if you essentially need to meet a woman who's kind of like me in that sense.
Kind of, yeah. How okay, here's another question. I can ask you a million things
Pause.
about.
Yeah.
Well, actually, because what you bring up there, hold on. What you bring up there is always a question I have when it comes to relationships too. Like how I don't know how similar I want my partner to be versus like how different I want them to be. Because in some ways, like different temperaments and different things is cool. I like, so like for instance, for Melina, I like the diversity that both of us together bring to a relationship in terms of being like polar opposites in some ways. Mm-hmm. But in other ways, like the differences in those things can lead to a lot of conflict and fighting.
It depends what the differences are.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm curious, like, what do you think are, this is a very vague and general question, so I'm going to be more specific and try. What do you think are, like, what's, like, good differences versus, like, bad differences? Like, what are things that you think are important to where, like, if you're going to be a partner with somebody, you probably need to overlap on these qualities? Actually, focus on that one first. We can talk about that. I'm curious, yeah.
I think those differences start to impact things when so like if my partner has a need for certain things, like let's say or like one of the values they hold is like they need somebody who's incredibly respectful. Okay. I think it becomes a real issue when the person that you're seeing is in direct contravention with that or very far off to the point where they're clashing with it on a regular basis. But if it's just a matter of like my partner prefers to eat vegetarian and I like to eat meat, but then we sometimes are able to constantly cook meals where both of our needs are met, then that's not an issue. But the moment it's like we can only have meat and just she's like, oh, we can only have vegetables, then you start to have an issue. So the differences I think start to really matter when they start to clash with the other person. They require a tremendous amount of change. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So what are some example of differences that you'd want to bring up from past relationships? Not necessarily the Melina one, but like a previous one where you felt like they were an issue.
I mean, I've got a few things that I would think of. Mm-hmm. Let me ask one question on that before I get into mine, because I'm curious. So here's a question.
Yeah.
How much of these things, so funnily enough, this can apply to poly relationships or monogamous relationships, okay? How much of these things do you think are appropriate for your girl to get from other people versus you? If we let's think about this, okay? You have a normal diet, or do you not eat pork or some stupid shit?
Oh, no, I have a normal diet.
Oh, okay. So you have a normal diet, a base diet, okay? Let's say you meet a girl that's a vegan and you guys want to do a relationship, okay? Would it be acceptable for you if all of her fun vegan experiences were with a friend instead? And she's like, well, I like going out to good vegan restaurants and exploring this, but like I can't do that with you, but I'm just going to go do this with a friend instead.
I think food is so intimate, like you have to have that with your partner. So with me, it'd be really important that she felt included. Now the question is, do I hate vegan food so much that me having to have vegan meals with her is a problem for me? Then that difference matters. I don't mind eating vegan food. Okay. So I don't mind having meals with her from time to time on like every week where we do that together. As long as she doesn't demand it from me all the time, then our differences are okay.
What if it came to anything like watching certain types of movies? Like she really likes rom-coms or science fiction. Or what if it came to like being religious and like going to church and that was the thing that you didn't want to do? How much of these things are you comfortable with her getting from like friends versus like how much you think has to come from you? Like how much can be outsourced in your relationship? Like what are the important things that you have to mesh on where it's like, these are things that we have to have aligned, otherwise I don't think it'll work.
So the question is, does she need to watch rom-coms with you? And if so, why? If she doesn't, then she can go with her friends and then we're both happy. She gets her needs met, and I don't have to watch stupid fucking movies that haven't been funny since the year 1990, right? So there we're good. So the question is, why does she need to have it with you? Why does she need to watch those movies with you?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Because if she doesn't, because there are some people that would say, like, these are things that are like couple things. You can't go to somebody else for this, right? So, like, for the standard one would be like sex, right?
Okay.
Like, you can't go to somebody else for sex. Where if we're in a relationship, that has to come from me, or like anything like physically intimate like that.
Okay,
right?
so the why becomes the next thing. Okay,
Sure, yeah.
It's important for you not to fuck other people because one, it makes me insecure. Two, it potentially puts me at risk. Three, it's inviting other people that you're investing your time in. You can make a whole bunch of different arguments. Okay,
so I understand as you build these, because then the only thing I'm going to go to next is like, and this is like the meme, is like you've heard the phrase that like a shoulder to cry on is a dick to ride on or whatever, right? I'm sure you've heard this before, right?
I've heard that.
You've seen like, so even in monogamous relationships, sometimes girls will have like the best friends, the guy friends that you know, like the second you fuck up,
they're sliding right in and they slide inside.
So like how comfortable with you? So like let's say that you say all these things like, I'm not a big fan of vegan food, if you want to do that. I'm not a big fan of like movies, you can do that. And she's starting to outsource a lot of things to other guys. Like at what point are you like, this is too much. We either have to do this in relationships or you can't do this at the very least with guys, or like this is just something that you have to cut out of your life. Yeah.
At what point is it too much that she's outsourcing this stuff?
Yeah. Or like what are like the hard lines there where you're like, I'm not comfortable with you. Like you can't get back rubs from guy friends. That's too much, right? Like I imagine there are going to be boundaries around some of these things. Yeah. Also, these questions are really vague. I don't know how much. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah. I think you have to ask yourself, what's the purpose of your relationship? And if your relationship is for you guys to be your, each other's support system, the ones that you guys are confiding in generally most of that emotional support should come from your partner, because that is the purpose generally of a relationship. You guys are to build a union, to support each other through thick and thin. If you're outsourcing the main tenets of that relationship to other people, then what's the point of even having that relationship at that point?
Sure.
So I would say it becomes too much when the main pillars of what a relationship is supposed to function for are now being outsourced to other people.
Okay,
because then like what you might as well be in a relationship with the other person because you're doing the relationship with. That's like me having a wife, pause, and then
wait, why? How was that pause?
Because I almost said I had a husband.
Oh, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
So
I didn't even hear that, but
it's okay. I thought it though, so I had to pause for myself.
Jesus. Okay, pause for yourself. Okay.
You know what's so funny? The whole pause shit is literally the dumbest thing in the world. It's almost like fart jokes when I was growing up because dudes were like so incredibly afraid of being gay that they used to constantly say pause all the time, and I thought it was so dumb. But you started to play into it, and now as an adult, I just do it subconsciously, and I'm like, why am I doing this? This is really fucking stupid.
It's all good. It happens.
But yeah, it just becomes funny now. But
yeah.
Some people are like, but you're homophobic. I'm like, I don't really care. But
okay, go ahead.
You might as well, like, what's the point of having your partner if everything you're supposed to do with your partner, you're doing with someone else? You might as well be in a relationship with that other person. And I'm pretty sure, in a way, that's how somebody would feel. Like, if I was seeing somebody and now she was spending most of her time with somebody else, and now she's like wanting to do everything with them and tell them the secrets that she's not even telling me, then I'm like, Are you married to this other person, or are you married to me? So that would be when it's too much.
Okay. I feel like some of the things I've settled on so far is like, I think, I don't have to write these down. Having like, I feel like frequent sex is probably one of the most important indicators for how healthy a relationship is. Like if you've got a couple people that have like stopped fucking, I think that there's a whole bunch of other shit and that relationship is like on the doom track. So having sex at least, I would say at a minimum like 2 to 4 times a week. Like if you've got that working, then there's probably a bunch of other shit that's working. I'd say that's one thing. I think a second thing is, I think similar expectations for time is really important. If one partner is expecting you to spend 4 to 6 hours a day with them and the other partner wants 4 to 6 hours a week, I think that that's like a recipe for disaster. I don't know if that can ever be reconciled. I think conflict resolution is really important. One problem I've ran into with every single girl I've dated, I don't know why, is when I get upset, okay, I'll either say irrational or hyper-rational, such that like when we start arguing, if I feel like you're wrong, I'm going to get mean and I'm going to turn into like a prosecutor, okay? You said you feel this way about this shit, but what about 2 weeks ago when you said blah, 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 like that's like, and also calling you, you're retarded, you're stupid, I don't know why the you're talking about, right? But if you give me like 6 hours, okay, I can chill, I'm like, listen, I understand what I said was dumb, like this is my bad, blah, blah, blah. But every girl I've ever dated has to have it resolved right now. And it's unacceptable to wait like 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I think going forward for me, that's incompatible. I can't deal with women like that anymore. You have to be able to chill and give me like a few hours to chill. You have to be able to do that, right? So I feel like conflict resolution is important.
Yeah.
And then I would agree, I'd say on a minor level, but they're pretty important. Things like communication. Like there can't be somebody that knows more about your relationship or your wife or like people's friends than you do. Like you should be able to share anything, hopefully without judgment, and like feeling like pretty open and comfortable doing that. Yeah.
I would agree to most of those things. I think like on the sex portion, I've met some people who like they have sex once a month. There's couples that are like that, and for them it's maybe it's stress, maybe it's work, maybe it's a bunch of different things, but it doesn't necessarily mean like they're on the rocks. It's just sex for some couples is highly important, and I'm telling you, I've met women who don't really give a shit about sex. Whatever they've been through in their life, whatever it is, it's not that important to them. So even some dudes who don't really care about it that deeply. So especially as I've gotten older, I've met more and more people like that. So I don't know if I agree on that portion, but I think you're also somebody who's just like, you really like sex, you like doing it pretty often. So
sure. Yeah, I do, but every woman I've talked to is also the same in that, like, usually when people stop having sex, usually that's when things are, it might not be because they stop having sex, but other problems in the relationship have made that happen. Kind of like you almost hinted at me, like maybe there's stress, maybe there's other stuff going on. And when that starts to falter, like other things are going to start to falter as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're in a relationship where both people don't care about it that much, then probably it's whatever. Yeah.
On the communication standpoint for like I don't think the issue. Well, listen, I can't speak to your personal experiences, but
sure.
I don't think the issue is wanting to take space. I think it's how you do it.
Okay.
So there's a difference between someone saying, "Listen, right now I'm too heated, and I can't think straight. Let's just breathe on this, and we come back to talk about this a little." And your partner generally at that point is saying like, "Well, what can I do to fix this?" I'm like, "Listen, you can't do everything to fix this. I just need to breathe and just chill on it. I'm not mad at you. Maybe I am. I just need to sort through my feelings."
Yeah.
There's a difference between like doing that and just not answering. There's a difference between doing that and like, get away from me.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Sure.
So I think there's a way to do so, because especially as a partner who may have done the offending act, if the person I have an issue with is just like not responding because they need time to think, that leaves me to start thinking in my own head what's going on, and I'm concerned. I want to fix things. So it's not a good way to engage in conflict resolution. Does that make sense?
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So
you can't just like go full stonewall on your partner for 6 hours. Yeah. But the other person also has to be willing to work with you there.
In terms of giving you that space?
Yeah.
I agree.
So like for the first two relationships I had, I've just recently come to understand this, as people have done this to me now. I think the physical abuse that came was a result of me shutting down. Because
Physical?
when somebody, my first two relationships were super physically abusive. I had to call the cops on my second ex 3 times. Wild shit, okay? She was a powerful woman. But I realized in retrospect, I see why this happened. And it was because when conflict would arise, I would just kind of like shut down because I need like 6 hours because I'm not going to say anything, blah, blah, blah. And the other person needs it resolved now. And when they are trying to get a reaction, it doesn't work. It escalates from talking to shouting to name calling to throwing shit to breaking shit to attacking me, right? Because they're trying to get some sort of response out of me. Yeah. But I understand that that's probably in response to me like just shutting down and seeming like completely disconnected, which is like the most infuriating thing a partner can do if you still have really strong feelings for them.
Absolutely. That is terribly infuriating. It still doesn't justify their extreme response to it.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. But I agree that like if you need time for conflict resolution, you should be able to say or have a discussion with the therapist. Like, listen, if I'm upset, listen, I love you. And I'll say it. Like, I'll love you. I'll give you a hug. But like, you got to leave me the alone for 6 hours. Then we can chat. Okay?
I couldn't imagine being in a relationship with a normal person. And as I'm talking to them and I'm like, listen, this really bothers me, but I need space. She's like, no, we need to fix this now. I'm like, there's no way I can fix this right now. I just need to breathe because I literally can't think with you. If she's still pressing after 20, 30 minutes, then I'm like, yo, listen, you need to hear, like, I'll start snapping because I'm like, yo, you bugging out right now. I can't even think and this is too close. Because I love you, give me this space.
Yeah, that would be pretty crazy to deal with. That sounds like be horrible. Yeah, that would be the worst thing in the world. Yeah, especially because now you're getting set up to fail because as this person continually, after making agreements to give you space, now that when you get into an argument and they start leaning on you, now you start saying more dumb shit and now it gets even worse. And now you're not even fighting about the original thing. Now you're fighting about the shit that you just said when you got emotionally dysregulated after they said they would give you space and they did it. And it's like, me. It's like a horrible, never-ending cycle of dumb shit.
Maybe this is like impertinent to say.
Yeah.
But you had two previous partners who were physical with you.
My first two. Yeah.
How common would you say that is for the average person to like have partners that are physically?
If I had to guess on percentage of times in a current relationship a partner has ever hit you, I would hope that number would be 25% or lower.
Okay.
I would hope so. Even 25% would be pretty high, but I would
Okay.
hope it'd be a lot lower.
And then listen, whether it's like, you know, they got issues in their life and that's why they bring this, and so when it comes to conflict resolution, it's not possible, or they're just very young and so they haven't really had time to develop a lot of these skills that are, because like, I can't say I was that great at conflict resolution in my early 20s or like late teens, you know what I'm saying? That's something that as I've gotten more comfortable myself and I've had to like empathize with my partners in a way that made them feel seen, that I've developed that over time. I imagine for you and future partners, especially people closer in age, I think it'll be a lot easier for you to have those kind of communication styles in terms of conflict resolution.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
I think something I have a hard time empathizing with is because my form of like unhealthy conflict or problem resolution is I tend to like shut down and evade. So like when I stopped streaming because I was doing all this shit over the past 2 weeks, I'll just like sit on my bed for like 12 hours and like spiral and like whatever. That's like my internal, and I understand that like in those periods of time, I'm heavily emotionally dysregulated and I'm like feeling like really horrible, but I don't externalize that at all. It's just like an internal process. But for other people that do conflict resolution in a more external way, when they start to spiral, their outlets are like other people. And I think that's where you get when you see like the text where somebody texts me like 50 times and they don't respond. And I'm thinking in my head, like, why? Like the 51st text is never the one that gets them, or like, why would you even text more than like 4 times? Like, this is insane. But it must be the other person is so dysregulated that they just need, it's like a pathology, like they need a response from the person or something in order to like calm them down, and nothing is a substitute for that.
It's incredibly difficult to be on the receiving end of radio silence.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you could even be talking and you're like, are you even here right now? Like,
yeah.
I'm distraught because I feel like something's really wrong between us and you've left.
Yeah.
And so the same way you're spiraling in your own head, they're spiraling in their head thinking like, what's happening? Is it somebody else? Because you're not even saying anything.
100% I agree. And that's been the issue with Melina. I think we even talked about this publicly, is that like, for me, if I get my form of conflict resolution, okay, if something happens and she lets me chill for 6 hours, at the end of that, most of the time that's happened, I've been like, listen, okay, I was fucking retarded. I said some stupid shit. I shouldn't have done this. Like, this is my bad. Like, let's go out to eat. Whatever. Oh my God, dude. Like, yeah, I fucked up, right? And I'm chill. I'm cool. I figured it out. It's cool. I fucked up, and I even apologize. But in that 6 hours, she is like devastated. Yeah. She's like, I thought you were gonna leave me. I don't know what the fuck you're thinking about. I don't know what's happening here. I don't know if I've like made some huge fucking blah blah blah. And so it's like, so it feels like there's no compromise to be made on like the conflict resolution, because if we do their style, her style, or other partners in the past where they want to resolve it immediately, I can't do that. I feel like I'm being emotionally fucking raped. It is the most uncomfortable feeling. And this is historically for me, not that it's like a trauma response or whatever, but like historically, these are associated with like fights for me. Like this is going to end with us like fighting, like physically, because there's never been in history in my entire life where a woman screaming at me has gotten her what she wanted from me. That has never happened.
Yeah, you nip that shit in the butt. Someone start, put that voice down. If I haven't started screaming, you ain't gonna start screaming, and we're not gonna carry on with this level of volume. Me personally, I've just never dealt with somebody who screams. Yeah. And if anybody even I'm like, yo, who are you talking to? Like, we together, chill. And you're not even gonna proceed to the next step until you chill. And then if you don't, then I'll leave.
Yeah, but that's like the worst. When somebody needs that conflict resolution right now, leaving is like the worst thing you can do.
But they have to understand that just because it's the worst thing for them, that does not give them the right to be in a verbal way hyper aggressive.
I agree.
Right? So the same way, just because my girl's stonewalling me does not mean I get to grab her and start shaking her. Right? And you have to understand the kind of emotional response you're eliciting in people. So we can apologize afterwards. We can figure it out, but there's no more raising our voices. I will be patient. If I'm fucking up communication wise, we gonna talk about it. We can figure it out. But there can never be a time where, listen, me personally, yelling can never be normalized.
I agree.
Because yelling is just a precursor to other worse shit right afterwards. So I nip that stuff in the butt, and I never deal with it. So I'm very grateful to my partners. But if I ever had somebody yelling, I'm like, yo, cut that shit out right now.
Oh, geez. Okay. Yeah. That's probably going to be a hard thing in the future. I think yelling or touching triggers me, and I think it's from the abuse shit. And I've had a couple times this even happened where when it's like whatever, and I'm like, don't ever fucking touch me, because now I'm actually like fucking stressed.
But if your partner loves you and cares about you, okay, generally you have those conversations beforehand, or if they happen, you fix it right afterwards and say like, this is a line that you cross that you never can cross again. And
or the screaming thing is also that's wild to me. I can't. When somebody starts screaming, like, bro, are you serious? Like, first of all, we're either in a hotel at a fucking event or we're in an apartment. Why the fuck are you screeching right now? Like, I'm gonna call the fucking cops on you. This is wild.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That shit drives me insane.
And if it does happen, you also have to have a certain level of empathy to understand like what it is that you led to push that person to that point, and understand your role in that, and say like, even though I never want you to do this again, and I know it's unacceptable, and you need to understand that. I understand that like I did something, so I want to try to fix that. And I think if you give that kind of compromise, generally most people are willing to meet you. But it's possible that they've just been so fucked up with the past that they might not be the right kind of people for you communication wise. But that's something you should figure out in the first 5-6 months, because by that period you guys have already dated, you've had some disagreements, so you know, something, you know. So yeah, I
agree. I think I largely agree. Let's see what else. Conflict resolution, sex, pretty normal. Similar expectation on time. Oh, what were you gonna say?
Someone said, what if they're bipolar? Okay, when it comes to anything mental health related, you have to understand you're no longer dealing with normal relationships. Okay, so you have to understand this is not a 50-50 thing, not a 60s. You might be doing an extreme high level of labor to be tolerant, to be patient, to violate your own boundaries, to make the other person feel comfortable. And that could be things that are going to be occurring. And you need to understand that might be a real possibility at different junctures in that relationship. So you have to ask yourself, are you willing to handle that? And if you're not, then dealing with somebody who's bipolar is not for you. Yeah. I know for me, it's not for me. I had someone who was like that, and she was not medicating. She refused to be. And I'm like, bro, I'm not willing to apologize every time you have this issue because you're not coming down for the next 2 days. Like, fuck that. But I can't do it. Other people are capable of being the one who always apologizes first, even though they're not wrong. Yeah. And if it doesn't eat at you, that's okay. It eats at me, so I can't do it.
Yeah, I agree. You can date people with mental illness, but like that's a special set of like responsibilities and everything that you're gonna have to take on to be ready for it, and you can't treat it like a normal relationship. There's special things you have to deal with. Yeah. Yeah.
You want to ask me something about time?
Yeah. What do you think in your thing? Every time I hear Destiny talk about issues, I get more certain that Islam is the way. The level of uncertainty this man has is so scary and ill. Nice. What a fucking retard. For time, what is your ideal like amount of time you would spend up with a partner? What do you think?
Living together or not living together?
Living together, for sure. Wait, question about that. Would you, if you were in a serious relationship, would you always want to live with your partner? Have you ever lived with a partner?
I would want to live with my partner. Have I ever? No.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's a whole other adventure of
it is. I imagine it is. Would I want to? I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Why? What's the hot take you got on that?
No hot take. I'm just curious.
I'm not probably the most divergent thing I would say in regards to this is like, I'm not mad at the people who have separate rooms when it comes to like sleep stuff and things like that. I think like creating spaces within a home for each person to feel comfortable with, if they're not ready to like completely amalgamate everything, is cool. But I think living with your partner makes the most amount of sense. Sure. Especially if you at some point want to bring kids together. Like how long can you guys really spend not living together?
Well, unless you're living in another house with high quality men that are driving you to be a better person.
Hey, live with your bros.
Yeah. What is the time commitment that you think in an ideal relationship when you're living with somebody? How much time per day or per week do you think you should be allotting somebody? Yeah.
I'll say this. Outside of work, there should be nobody else in your life that you're spending more time with than your partner.
Okay.
That's one. Two, I think that's to be negotiated by the people because everybody got a different threshold.
Oh, yeah. I was asking you personally. I'm curious for you.
Me personally... if I'm not living with them, I like seeing my partner like 3 to 4 times a week, even if it's just short things like little grab food, go out to do something, whatever it might be. I like doing that. She's like, she got studying stuff to do. She comes over to my place. We have some food. We chill out. She studies. I do my thing. Yeah, that'd probably be the answer. I couldn't give you an answer for living together because I haven't been through that experience.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you text a lot? Like if you're dating somebody, are you like talking pretty frequently throughout the day? Or do you have phone calls or?
No, I don't text a lot, and I'm not somebody who likes doing that. And I generally get in relationships with people who don't like doing that much either. I'm somebody who's like, yo, what do you do tonight? Okay, cool, I'm making dinner, come by.
Okay.
And that's how I like to set up my relationships. I don't like to be like, good morning. I understand some people need a good morning text every day. So I've actually compromised before where, like I'll send a good morning text all the time. Or like, I'm like, hey, hope you're good tonight. Get some sleep. Thinking about you. And that's fine. Conversations throughout the day, I just can't do it.
Here's a question. Okay. Theoretically, hypothetically, would it be unethical to set up let's say somebody really likes good morning bots. would it be unethical to
no, that is unethical.
set up a chat bot?
Absolutely, yes, it
you
is.
give them 5 preloaded messages, a 1 to 5 minute variable.
Don't even ask me the question. You know why it's unethical.
Why?
You don't see with your little cheeky
I'm just curious.
Why do you think it's unethical? You know why.
Because you're lying about it?
Because you're not really doing your labor. You're literally hiring a machine to do it. It's like
they still feel happy about it.
The reason why
I want them to have a good morning. I just don't feel like fucking saying it.
Yeah, just don't even ask me that.
You put in the effort to make the bot. Do you think a software engineer that automates his job isn't working? Like, come on.
No.
Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else.
You can get robots to do everything. Like at some point in your relationship, you want your partner to work for you a little bit. You know?
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Are you good with it? Yeah, here's a question. Are you good when it comes to compliments?
Yes, very good. I give lots of compliments. I like giving compliments.
In long-term relationships?
Long-term relationships, friendships. I like showing love to people.
Okay.
Just like you. I'll be showing you love on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, sure.
Things going good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not good at. I'm really
in person.
Yeah.
Be more attractive.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really bad with compliments. So I was just curious.
Oh, wait. Why are you bad with compliments? Is a good question.
I'm a big. No, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I'm a big like action type person. And if somebody's doing like certain actions for me, that means a lot to me. And compliments mean almost nothing to me. As mean as that sounds, I don't mean
fair. So you don't care about receiving them?
Not that much, no.
Okay.
Especially from certain people, I do, depending on what it's about. So for instance, if I have like a really good performance in like a debate and like, Joe Rogan DMs me. He's like, bro, I saw that debate. That was an amazing performance. Good job. It's like,
right, because it's based off the work that you've done.
Yeah, and it's a guy that respects the work. Right?
Fair, right.
But if my mom said it, I mean, like, okay, it's my mom. She doesn't understand it's my.
But I'm serious when I say that. I am actually proud of you for the whole YouTube thing, because after you got removed from Twitch, there's like a sort of genuine part of me that's like, yo, what's going to happen for this guy going forward? And to see you bounce back and to have a larger fan base and to do all these things, like, I actually think it's amazing how you've turned that shit around. Yeah. Now, when I say that, I really mean that. Maybe it doesn't mean anything for you.
No, I respect when you compliment, because I don't see you all the time or whatever. I appreciate that. That's good. Yeah. But the one problem I have for compliments that's really bad for me is in relationships, I'm a really big, I like a lot of physical touch. So like I'm cuddling with my partner, okay, hugging them. When I wake up, I might give them a kiss. I might like call them a nickname or whatever, and then like leave. But then oftentimes the complaint I'll get from my partner is that like I feel hideous to you. Like you never tell me I'm pretty. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I don't ever say that. But I try to express it in other ways. Yeah, of course, yeah. But it's hard for me to like verbalize it.
Okay.
Yeah. But then oftentimes when I wake up and they'll say like, oh, like you're so handsome today. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm fucking married to you or we're dating. Of course you think I'm handsome. Like I don't need to hear this from you, obviously. Like you don't think I'm fucking hideous. Yeah. That's like where my mind goes, I guess. I have a really hard time like complimenting people regularly because it doesn't mean as much to me unless it's like something sincere about a particular thing. And then I have a hard time saying it because like, well, obviously I think you're beautiful. Like you're.
Here's the thing. Most of us think a lot of good things in our head about the people we care about and that we love. Mm-hmm. The reason why I started to learn how to verbalize it a lot is because I learned that for them to hear it meant a lot to them. I'm very similar to you.
Absolutely true. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it cost me very little or nothing to say it, and it meant everything to them. Mm-hmm. So I just started to develop the habit over time. And that was a compromise I had to make in a previous relationship to learn to do that. And I realized like, oh, I actually like doing this. And I don't even like, it's not even just, I think we would all do well with being able to compliment the people around us a little bit more, because at the end of the day, we think all these wonderful things. Why not let them know? Because we're constantly getting so much negative messaging from others or even ourselves in terms of self-doubt. Like, it's just an effort thing that you have to make, and you can develop the habit.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good habit for everybody to develop too. Yeah. I don't think it's acceptable to say you're bad at it. This is something I'm trying to work at more in the future.
Especially like just being able to give compliments without expecting anything in return is also a really good skill for people to get.
Of course. I think in relationships, I think that's generally true. I don't think they're usually expecting something in return, but hopefully there's like a mutual back and forth.
Yeah. So I think it's a small effort people can make, but I think it goes a long way. So I would definitely tell them.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. That's a skill everybody should work on. I agree.
Yeah. I like telling my partner, like, if I'm thinking in my head and she walking by, she's not like, girl, you look good in that outfit. Like, I'm really thinking it, and I'm happy to say it. Because I'm like, why don't you keep it in my head? And if she's smiling, I'm like, oh, was very seamless to do. But I even do it with strangers, too. Like, sometimes I'll see some people, like, with a really fly outfit that like, stood out to me, and I'll be like, yo, I love your shirt. And that's it. I'll leave it after that. So I think we could all stand to compliment everybody around us. If we feel it. Don't make it fake. That's the only thing. I hate it when it just sounds like brown nosing. That's why I actually don't like being around content creators. I was telling you, like, I feel like that's just generally the crowd of people where they're just like, oh my God, I love your hair. I'm like, oh, bitch, if you don't shut the fuck up with that shit, I hate that. Yeah. That is actually like, I would have rather you told me you were mute and you lost the ability to speak at 10 than you giving me fake compliments. I don't want to hear none of that shit.
Yeah.
But
It's like I would almost respect it more. I'd almost sign up for a program if some agency emailed me like, hey, listen, our bot found your channel. Do you want to sign up for our shit? As opposed to the, hey, Stephen Bonnell _II. We really appreciate your content and we love the last video you did on ABBA freaks out at Destiny over blah, blah, blah. Do you want to work with her? And it's like, motherfucker, I don't even know if there's a real person. It's probably not, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I think making an effort is always good in that regards. Was that some of the things that you were struggling with in the past?
Yeah, these are all things I've struggled with. And for some of these, I'm like undecided. And on some of these, I'm like gravitating in one direction or the other. So,
yeah, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first, especially when you start doing it like more regularly. But after a while, it's just going to, because you're already somebody who speaks their mind pretty often. Like if you're thinking something like you're pretty good at expressing yourself without worry of like.
Yeah, it's not an issue of speaking my mind. It's an issue of like, here's the thing I don't know. Sometimes there are ways that I prefer to communicate, and I don't know if I should be looking for somebody that communicates a similar or the same way, or if I should just change some of the ways that I communicate. So, like for instance, when I get, I hate when I have this conversation because then I get a bunch of people to message me like, oh my god, I do this. Do you hate me? Like, okay, so I don't hate anybody that does, okay? But like, if I did a performance and somebody messaged me, like a friend of mine messaged me, and they were like, hey, when you did this thing here, I think it would have been better if you said this or that. I appreciate that type of feedback 1,000,000%. And that's usually the type of feedback that I give. But then people that are close to me or around me will say things like, Steven, I feel like you hate every fucking thing I do. And I'm like, what do you mean? I think you do a lot of mixtures. Like, every time you talk to me about anything I do, all you have is fucking negative things to say. All you have is fucking criticism. Yeah, and that's the thing that gets, I actually thought about this a lot in the last, like, there was a debate I did recently with a few people. Actually, I think I was even thinking of Kyla, where there was something I wanted to say in terms of like a way she did an argument. And I had to think like specifically, okay, hold on. She did a good job, and I should say a few good things first, because otherwise it sounds like I just have a negative opinion about this thing. But for me, I don't want to hear like, you did a great job in the debate. I don't care. I know I did a great job. I don't need you to tell me. But if somebody has criticism for me, like the whiplash maybe, like tell me like you suck shitty, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
But that's, I don't know if I should look for people that like think that way, or if I should just like change my mode of like communication.
Here's why what you're doing is 100% untenable. You're also an employer. You cannot keep company morale or employee morale if the only time you have reproach to say to stuff is when they're doing things badly. They need, because like,
well, I agree with you on this. I don't care. I'm thinking of relationships is my issue. Yeah, relationships and friendships. I do agree for the employer-employee thing.
But I think everything works in that sense. Like human beings are just humans, whether you're your partner or whatever. Like generally, what their emotional needs are from the people that they care. Because even a work relationship is not just robotic. There is a personable aspect to it. So you have to treat a lot of these things kind of similar in terms of your approach and like the empathy that you have to come with it. So I'm very stern with the people who work for me when they do something bad, but I also make sure I go out of my way to show them love. Like, hey man, you did a great job. And I know it means a lot to them because they, one, tell me, but two, I've been on the receiving end. I've like, when someone tells me I'm done great on my work, it helps me a lot. So you have to also understand that in a relationship, that's something that you have to do. And gratefulness goes so far because especially when you're seeing somebody for so long, you get in the habit of just doing things for each other and it becomes automatic. But just a little bit of that gratefulness kind of keeps those juices growing in terms of making you want to do it. So like maybe somebody's making food for you. Like, yo, take a second one time to be like, you did an amazing job with the food today. I appreciate it. Right? Because if you get so robotic, the stuff you used to do at the beginning in terms of showing each other love, because at the beginning when you're seeing somebody, right, you're probably more complimentary or a little bit more flirty in terms of everything that you're doing with. Whereas once you get into the relationship much further on, you stop doing that because everything's automatic. You just stop giving those compliments. You stop saying that stuff. Well, then the relationship loses a little bit of its luster because you're not showcasing that gratefulness for the things that you should be. Yeah, I agree. And then people think the underlying emotions are gone if you're not like expressing it verbally like you used to. Yeah, absolutely. Friendships, all of these things I feel like work similarly. So that's definitely something that I think is worth doing. And on the topic of like, should you find someone who has a similar communication style? Here's what I would say. How much out of you does it take for you to compliment people? And if you're being honest with yourself, it might be something you're uncomfortable doing right now, but I don't think you think it's the hardest, laborious thing for you to be able to develop in terms of skills. Is it? Would it kill you to learn to do that regularly? Would it kill me? No. There's a lot of things that theoretically I can change. But like at this point when I'm 35, there are also things that I'm like really comfortable with and things that I'm not as comfortable with. There are a lot of things that I could change. I'm just not sure. Like one thing that's been really hard for me over the past couple of years, especially is figuring out like how much should I want to change and how much should I just find somebody that is more like on my page. Like so for instance, one thing that I tried really hard to change for a long time was
I need to be able to resolve conflicts immediately because it feels like every girl I'm with wants them to be resolved immediately. And it took me a long time to realize, like, you know what? This is bullshit. I should be able to ask for space for 6 hours. It's not fair that I'm expected to take care of their feelings while I'm emotionally dysregulated and they're the ones with the problem with me. I think that's an unfair emotional burden to place on me. I should be able to find somebody that can do this and be okay with this. But then for the compliment thing, I'm thinking, like, it's hard for me to remember to give compliments every day. Maybe I could probably change this behavior, but, like, obviously that's a lot less labor than the conflict resolution thing.
Sure.
So sometimes it's hard for me to draw, like, what are the things that I should be changing versus
I'll give you a hot take.
Yeah, go for it.
I think you should change your conflict resolution style to be able to do things instantaneously if it led to better outcomes. The problem with trying to change your conflict resolution style is there's probably an underlying reason for why you need time to do that. And it's pretty unlikely that you can fix the reasons why. But if, let's say you could, let's say there was a means by which you can snap a switch and now you can instantly start to resolve every issue on the spot, you should take it.
There is, yeah. But it took me too long to find it. I noticed this. I think I told this to chat before. I don't know if it's an ADHD thing or not, but once I started taking Vyvanse, when I had some fights, I felt like I was in the Matrix because there were things that I would say and then Melina would say, and I would see. So here's one fight we had. We were talking about something, and I was in a particularly good mood. Oh, I think it was my 3rd or 4th day on Adderall, and the euphoria had passed, but I still, like, my mood is, like, very elevated. I feel more regulated, like everything's cool. And I had said something like, oh, like, I think I saw some video she did where it was like, oh, I love you, like, good work on this, blah, 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 blah. And for whatever reason, because Melina does her own fucking spiral, she was like, oh, like, I don't know why you say that. It doesn't feel like you love me sometimes, okay? And when I read that in my normal state of mind, okay, then the next message would have been, why the fuck do you ever expect me to fucking compliment you? If you want to say nice things, they turn into fucking problems. This is why I don't fucking say shit to you. You're fucking retarded. Don't ever expect me to say shit. You're going to turn into a problem. If I'm having, like, if I see some shit like this in my normal state of mind, yeah. That's my fucking response.
I'm going to ask you, like, a little psych. Is that how you talk normally when you're...
Well, in that case, I wouldn't. But when I'm really mad, yeah, I get really, really bad. Yeah. We'll fight someday and we'll figure it out, okay? But it has to be a real fight, not like politics or relationship.
That's a wild way to talk to somebody,
no,
okay?
I get super mad. But on Vyvanse, okay, or I was on Adderall, when she said that, I was like, you know what? I understand why you don't feel that way all the time. I'll try my best to, like, do a better job at this and blah, 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 blah. And after that, she was like, yeah, I'm really sorry that I said this, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was actually like a Matrix moment. Like, holy shit, I saw through. Because ordinarily, yeah, when people start problems with me, I'm like, I have to disconnect and take, like, 6 hours because, like, my brain immediately goes into... Because you'll reply like you did. Yeah, I'll become unhinged. I'm like, I'm like not happy right now. Yeah, we're gonna fight. This is
okay.
That's normally, but that's why now you see. No, when I fight, if I'm like in a bad mood and we're fighting over some shit where I think the other person is clearly in the wrong, it's gonna get real ugly. Yeah, that's why I say, like, give me like 6 hours, please, because if we fight with me in that mode, whatever fight we just had that was gonna be a 1 day fight, that's like now it's a 1 or 2 week fight. Yeah. But it's a really hard time for me to find people that give me that space. But actually now on Vyvanse, I don't know if ordinarily now if I have fights with people, maybe I can like the conflict resolution, because I think emotional impulsiveness is a big tenet.
Okay, well, I mean, if fixing that problem is just you taking a pill, then I would argue, you should take that as long as the pill doesn't have crazy downsides that like fuck up the rest of your life. Yeah, that would be a solution that you'd want to take. As far as the compliments thing, I don't think it'd be the most hard labor for you to be able to develop that. So if it's overall better for your relationship, it's good. I think you should want to change that for your future relationship prospects.
Sure.
It's an overall net positive. I think the change that you would require to have to do, it's like, bathing every day is probably inconvenient for some people who hate fucking being clean, but you probably should shower every day if you want to get in a relationship and maintain one. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, there are some things where if you have a certain ask or a certain demand, and it cuts you off from like 95% of people, then you probably should reevaluate that particular thing. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. I mean, even if it doesn't even cut you off, I just think if it overall makes those relationships substantially better, like much more so, then I think you should try to change yourself for that. Sure. Especially if it doesn't demand much.
Yeah, that's also the hard thing to find too, is like, because there's certain changes, if this like requires like a radical rework of your entire person, probably not. But if it's something that's an easy change that would dramatically improve your relationships, then probably, yeah.
So here's the thing, I'm not the most outgoing person. That surprises people because I like going out salsa dancing. I go, do stand-up shows or whatever. But like I've had partners before who want to just take long walks in the park all the time. And this is what I tell them. That's not me. If you need that from me, I'm not for you. I'll make you food when you get back. You know what I'm saying? I'll be supportive if you want to go hiking. Or what I can do is I can give you 2 times a year. Like 2 times a year, I'll go on a hike with you. That's my labor. But I cannot do this on a regular basis because I might not be that right person for you. That's like the compromise I made, because it's too much. For me, when I get dragged to events I don't want to go to or shit, like I don't complain because I don't want my partner to feel miserable, but I look miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like
that's another thing that
I can't do it. I can't fake like, I love this long walk up this. I hate it. There's mosquitoes. There's a bunch of other bullshit. My asshole sweating.
Yeah.
Why am I here? Why am I here? That's what I'm thinking, but I don't say nothing. But my partner can see my displeasure, so then she gets mad because she's like,
and now you're like, I didn't even want to fucking be here, and now that I'm not at 100% when you drag me to this thing I don't want to be in, you've brought me to a place to get me in trouble.
Yeah.
You literally have brought me, you set me up to fuck me.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to be here, and now I'm in trouble because I'm not acting. Yeah,
absolutely.
That will get me unhinged.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what I ended up doing is I just tell my partners, like, I can't do it. And then, the funny thing, too, is like, I always tell the girls, I say, you realize I never, ever tell you, yo, you got to come to this anime convention with me, or you got to. I never drag my girl to like, yo, come to my stand-up shows or come dance. I never do that. But
you can never use that in an argument, though. I learned that because I'll say shit like this. And I was like, listen, I'm not telling you to do this, and they're like, well, you should, because if you did, I would do it every single time. And I'm like, okay, well, because that doesn't work. Yeah. You're like, okay,
yeah. But for me, like, because it's not a need for me, I say that, and for them, they respond like you say. But I have to just kind of relate to them. It's just too much out of me. So that's why I just tell them, like, I don't think I'm the right person for you. And that's something I nip in the butt early. Like, if I look at an online dating profile and say, I'm super outgoing and I want to fight, I'm like, you were hot and you had a lot of, but that's just a no for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not trying to meet somebody who's super outgoing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Actually, that's something that frustrates me too sometimes, because people see that I like to go out dancing. They're like, I can't dance at all. I'm like, bitch, nobody asked.
What do you mean?
Like
they assume that you're going to want them to go dancing with you?
Nobody is. You're not invited. I don't even care if you want to dance. If you like dancing, maybe we go out once in a while, but I don't care. I've never asked that for my partners to have the same interest like that, and I've never really. I've dated somebody who did dance and it was cool, but I never sought that out. So sometimes people X themselves out of my own dating pool because they think I'm going to demand things that I've never asked for, never sought for.
Sure.
Yeah.
I could see people also feeling weird if you're like going out dancing and they know that like other girls are there and they're not like part of that, where they would get like really paranoid that. Because like the impression is going to be that you're like getting very close to somebody that you're seeing like every time you go out dancing, and they're like sharing that with you,
Personally, my personal life, I've never had a girl have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Again, I'm also openly talking about the fact that I like to go out, and I tell them too, like, for me, it's always a very respectful thing. We go out, I say hi. Also, a lot of the people I go out dancing with are like middle aged to like heading to retirement. So
sure.
It's just funny to me when I hear that perception, but I've just never had that issue with women. And I feel like those kinds of women would not be women I'd want to date anyways.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. I know that there are some people that have, I remember talking to my mom about this a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because my mom has very conservative views on this, where she's like, she was complaining about some golf courses allowing women in. And her complaint was that like when men go to do men things, women shouldn't be there because wives shouldn't have to worry about their men being around like women in these places.
I feel like as I hear that, I should be drinking a beer. I'm like, fuck yeah.
To be fair, my mom was very tradcon.
Yeah.
But yeah.
See, that would probably be a weird thing for me to hear. I don't know if I would be that turned off. I'm like, okay, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like very peculiar. I always find it when I meet like super conservative women and they're just like, feminism is stupid and birth control is fucking dumb and abortion is, baby murder and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You can think that. But I always think to myself, like, is this incompatibility going to be a problem long term? Because like here she is like advocating towards like women's access to things. I'm not going to be like.
Good job.
Did I break something?
Hopefully not. Doesn't seem like it. Go ahead.
Let me find out. Just unplug everything. Oh no, it's still working.
Still working. So.
Yeah. Have you ever dated somebody like that? Like super conservative views?
I've been with people that have super conservative views, but there's a few things you have to separate out.
Gotcha.
There's like here's a hot take. I think that people are largely very similar. Like most men are similar to most men, and most women are similar to most women. There's a huge overlap. When it comes to stated political views, I don't even though people can have really strong political views, I don't know if that always bleeds over into how they conduct their personal life. Like, if I have the opportunity to get close to and chat with and like flirting stuff with like a very like woke progressive woman, I can start telling some racy jokes and she'll laugh because it's funny, because I kind of like earned the trust there. Or if I'm talking to like some like I've met a lot of conservative people that are surprisingly like willing to hook up a lot earlier than I would have expected them to, even though they have like their stated political beliefs. I remember I learned this in California, and this might just be with younger people, like the 20 to 25 age bracket, that girls will put shit like socialist or communist in their profile. They don't care about that shit. Like I'll be, because that'll be a thing that comes up to me, like, you said you're a socialist, that's interesting. And she's like, yeah, like a lot of my friends at school are in like this club, and I'm like, oh, so what about like workers and the means of production? And she's like, well, I think people should have healthcare. And it's like, okay. So like, I feel like the political views don't always overlap, or they don't always predict extremely different personal views. Yeah. But I'm sure that could be the case, and just the people that end up meeting on like Tinder or in my communities might already gravitate towards socially like my lifestyle. Like, I bet if I went to a church and found people with really socially conservative views, they might actually be substantially different in how they lead their personal lives, maybe, than other people. So that's hard for me to say. I don't know if I can generalize just from the people that I meet, because I'm obviously selecting for a certain type of people I meet, right? Yeah. Like, if you have really super socially conservative views on a lot of things,
but they probably wouldn't even be talking to you or spending
time. They
wouldn't
want to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably what's happening. Did that cover the gambit of the relationship stuff in terms of parameters? Yeah, you gonna start giving compliments?
I need to try to do that. I need to do better at that. Yeah. I gotta get the ChatGPT bot. It'll vibrate my phone like every 2 hours, and it'll be like a compliment base that I've already preloaded, and I'll look at it, I'm like, oh shit, and I'll say, hey, yeah, I like your legs today. Nice. They're especially shaven. Good job. Yeah.
Don't make it socially retarded like that. You know what? I used to be like, if not much worse than you at this, and now I've gotten so good. Sometimes I just repeat the compliment because I keep thinking in my head. Like, especially when your partner is like attractive and they're like really wearing a nice outfit. Like, it's like, yeah, you still look good. Like I said it 5 minutes ago. So it really can change with a bit of effort.
That's always the thing that I run into, and that probably is a mindfucking experience for some girls I talk to, because especially if we're like in the early stage and they're sending like videos or pictures where I'm like, damn, this looks nice, you look good, you got a sick ass, blah 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 blah. But then like, if they've sent me like the 20th picture of their ass, like, I still like your ass, but at that point you're just gonna drool emoji. Like, what? I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Like, am I supposed to repeat the same compliment? But like, maybe I should. Yeah, maybe just like repeat the same shit, I guess. Yeah.
No, I don't do that. I don't like receiving pictures that much. So I'd probably get tired of it too. But if there,
okay. Whoa, hold on. To be clear, if you're listening, I never said I got tired of it. I just don't know like what to say as a response. I still enjoy them. I just don't know how to respond to it all.
Yeah, I wish I used to get excited. I actually prefer seeing women in like different outfits that look really good on them than seeing them in a thong every time. And I'm not even trying to like, I just think it's kind of redundant and boring. And also, part of like seeing somebody in an outside outfit is like a little bit of like the thinking of taking things off and like how it looks good and like imagine them walking in. Whereas like the ass, I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. Like if I'm just getting like a police lineup profile pic over and over again, that'd
be boring, yeah. Also, it's like, it's just a little bit too boring, you know?
Okay.
A little bit, no mysteries, nothing. Okay. There's no like personality involved. Like at least you wearing something that you like. I'm like, okay, you did your thing today. You made some good choices. But if it's just your ass, like maybe you worked out for it, but it's like it doesn't really reflect much of you. So it's kind of boring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's boring. But
I understand.
After you've seen like a bunch of cheeks, like seeing cheeks again, it's not that crazy.
Okay. He's Abba speaking for Abba there.
Yeah, Destiny trying to receive all the cheeks.
Well,
you know what's giving me anxiety? Just seeing new people message you every like 2 seconds. It is crazy.
I know. Don't worry about it.
It's crazy. Hey, you okay, Destiny? Please respond.
Stop. Okay.
Destiny, I've been thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. So you probably got a few of those like, yo, so you're single.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing I have to start working on.
Wait, nah. We won't talk about that because earlier you were like, you know when women have men in their lives that are just waiting for their... You have some women in your life that are just waiting their turn.
Well, the biggest issue that I have is, or the thing that is scary now is that like when I was married or when Melina was, whatever, I don't know where we're right now, okay? But I'll just say when I was married, it helps me keep people at like a good, appropriate distance because I know exactly, they know I'm married, like that's probably not going to change, only especially crazy people are going to try to that.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
So when you say keep people at appropriate distance, my understanding is like with your open relationship, is there really an appropriate distance? Because at the end of the day, like if somebody's like monogamous and everybody knows I'm married, okay, but in your situation, they're not actually barred from entering.
When I say appropriate distance, for me, that's slang for appropriately managed expectations. So like if you're messaging me, we can be friends and we can chat and we can do like sexy things or whatever, but like it's highly unlikely we're dating because I'm married, and I'm probably not going to be able to put like a huge emotional investment into our friendship because I'm like so busy and I've like got a wife and I've got to invest in that, right? So that helps. So people message me, they already kind of have that in their head.
Okay, so just to be clear, you had an open relationship, not a polyamorous one.
Depends on who you're asking at what point in time, but yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, but I would say it was largely open. And then it, but even if it was a poly relationship, if you're reaching out to me as a single person, your expectations of what you're going to get from me are going to change dramatically if I'm married or not, right?
Okay, so here's a follow-up question. If you have an open relationship that's not polyamorous, but you're sleeping with the same people pretty often, like regularly, like it's been years y'all been sleeping together, at what point does it not evolve? Because like, there's no way you're just like fucking and leaving. You're going to talk to this person. You're going to be like somewhat emotionally invested. At what point does it change from like an open relationship to a polyamorous one, like where they're, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, actually, I guess, okay. Well, actually, now that I'm working this on my own now, I can give you how this actually should work. Okay, Jesus. Okay, an open relationship tends to one-night stands, basically. And then a poly relationship tends to multiple dating partners, okay? That's like the two extremes.
Sure.
And then there's going to be some level of variance, like, or some gravity between both of these, right? Because very rarely is one like all one thing and one the other.
Right.
Right. So I would say as you lean more in the open direction, the expectations for like emotional consideration or communication outside of a purely sexual thing decreases dramatically as you move towards the open thing. And as you move towards the poly thing, the expectation for some level of emotional commitment and like time investment increases.
Okay, I might sound red pill right now.
Go ahead, yeah.
But I imagine for most women, just the idea of constantly cycling through new dudes is not that interesting.
For most women, that is
Yeah,
true, yeah.
especially for them to even have sexual gratification. Like, if not some...
Which is funny because real quick, because you said that this is a red pill thing. That's actually an anti-red pill thing because red pillers have the assumption that women in poly relationships are fucking like 10 dudes a week. But as I discovered in my poly relationship, and I'm talking to most people, women tend not to do that. They usually want to have sex in relationships with people that they know pretty well. They don't just cycle through like 10 different guys like every fucking week.
Fair.
Yeah.
So
you were right. Yeah, go ahead.
So even if like an attempt to want to do an open relationship, it feels like that's generally going to skew towards the men because the men are most likely the ones who are going to want to sleep around pretty often or are going to be more capable of doing so. Whereas for the women, like they're going to want somebody a little bit more consistent. One, because their ability to get sexual pleasure is going to be higher, but two, a lot, some measure of like emotional bonding is going to happen during sex, especially if it's repeated. So they're just going to naturally gravitate towards a polyamorous transition from an open relationship. No,
potentially. That's why, yeah, it's probably important to discuss like what the rules and the boundaries and everything are going into things because both people might engage with sex differently, and you have to have like a realistic expectation of what things are going to look like down the line. Like to say like we're in a purely open relationship, but you're having sex with the same person that you've known for 2 years and they're your friend and you hang out with them outside. It's like
that doesn't feel like an open. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it starts to feel like something more. Yeah.
Right. So
like I remember there was an argument that I had. There was an argument that I had like 3 or 4 years ago, I think, with Melina when she was like, "Well, we're going to do an open relationship," and it was an argument where she was asking me like, "Do these girls think that you're their boyfriend?" And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. And she's like, well, what do you mean maybe? And I'm like, well, there are a few women that I've known for months, and we have sex, and we go out on dates, and we hang around, and we chat, and like
that sounds like a relationship.
Exactly. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, so I mean, like, to some extent, I mean, like, you're describing a boyfriend. She's like, okay, but they can't call you their boyfriend. And I'm like, okay, well, this is, yeah. Like, I mean, you can get rid of the label, but like, yeah, if you're having sex with somebody and you have an emotional investment over a long period of time, you're describing a form of relationship that is approaching or has already passed like boyfriend or girlfriend. Yeah.
Right. But I understand the frustration because like if one person's meant to feel special, but then they're having the same title for everyone, then the whole idea of the openness is gone, and it's actually like you're in a relationship with multiple people.
Yeah. So what I would say is, as you gravitate more towards the poly lens, or I think probably how I would like ideally approach it, assuming me and my partner are on the same wavelength, is personally, I'm not interested in one night stands that much. Because it's like
they're not great.
Yeah, even on a sexual level, they're not that fulfilling.
No.
So like some kind of like somewhat of a friendly or emotional investment in partners, but like your primary partner is like the one that you are prioritizing in most aspects.
Gotcha.
So like in our last relationship, like where I live is dictated by Melina. The person that lives with me is Melina. Like the person that I orient like my financial, business, career decisions around is Melina. Right? We got married. I can only be married to one person at a time. Financial investments in time, and then like the majority of my emotional investment in time is Melina. Like I probably invested more emotionally in everything in her as I have with every other girl combined over the past 5 years. Yeah.
Let me ask you, if you combine all the other women in terms of time, would you say you spend more time with the ex or you more with all the women combined?
probably more time with the ex, but it's
Is
close.
it comparable?
It's probably like 60-40.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would see that as an issue because here you are saying this is the main one, and I've made these financial investments, but I don't think people really think about it that way, at least not from the women's side, because they're like, well, all these other people take up half your time, and I take the other half. It feels like, am I really the priority here?
Sure. Yeah, I agree. And that's definitely a feeling that people can have. But I think if you're asking that type of question, I would say you probably shouldn't do that style of relationship. If you feel like if your partner is ever spending time with somebody else that you're like deprioritized or that they're thinking something is better than you, then you probably just shouldn't be doing that. You should just do something different. Because even if it's like a 20-80 split, I think that could always be like a lurking thing that's like fucking your head up. Yeah.
Do you know a lot of people around you who have like successful polyamorous relationships?
This sounds really mean, and I don't mean to make it sound this way, and I'm so sorry, but like generally people that do these types of like alternative relationships are really weird, and I don't talk to those people.
They're really weird and ugly.
Or I will say, actually, hold on, let me requalify that. The people that I met, oh god, this community they're cringy in some ways, they're endearing in other ways, the rationalist community or whatever.
Yeah.
In San Francisco, those people do a lot of like type of open poly relationship stuff. Yeah. All those people are really smart and really successful and pretty attractive. But I'm not like part of any of those San Francisco communities, so I don't know. So like all the alternative lifestyle people are usually like 50-year-old plus like swingers, or whatever. So yeah, so I don't have like many of those people in my life. Yeah. Or any of those people. Yeah, basically. Oh no, I have a few that I know actually.
Is that really that common for people to do the whole polyamorous stuff in San Francisco?
I don't know if it's common in San Francisco, but I know that community of people, it's almost like the default. Like they were telling me, like if you run into someone who's monogamous, that's like a unicorn. And
what are they like? Highly successful, really rich people?
They're all like
tech bros. They're like I'm fucking like, everything. I was a nerd for too long.
No, they're like nerd people, but they're like very smart and they're very like sexually open and liberated, and they all like work in like AI and machine learning. And, like,
it sounds like they're making a bit of cheddar.
Yeah, but they're not like but they're not like the crypto bros who are like jocks that don't know anything about anything and lucked into crypto, and now they've somehow become millionaires.
No, they've worked for their stuff.
Yeah, and they're all like really smart and nerdy and geeky, and like they have like that demeanor. Yeah. So, but the girls in those communities, do you know Ayla Girl on Twitter, right?
Ayla, we spoke to her. The one that looks like the elf from Lord of the Rings?
Yeah. She's like part of that community. She's an example of like, I would say a lot of the girls that are there were...
she's the one who only fucks the smart dudes.
Maybe, yeah. But I would say like there's similarish in vibes to like her. Yeah.
I asked her on a date. She's like, what's your IQ? And I was like, oh, fuck.
Really? Oh my God. You say that, but I could totally see her saying something like that, and I could see her saying that, and not even realizing that it comes off as like a kind of cold. Like I would totally fucking believe that. Yeah.
I'll just let the chat decide whether that was real or not. But yeah.
Yeah, the time commitment thing is hard. I will say that like obviously in poly and open relationships that is it's an issue that can be exacerbated by other people. But I will say that even in mono relationships, I run into a problem sometimes where if I choose to do something work related instead of doing something with my partner, oftentimes the partner is saying something like, this is more important than me. I'm like, well, no, but there's like something in particular that's going on right now that is really important more important than what you want to do right now. Yeah. But people get into their head, because I do work a lot, an abnormal amount, which I agree with and I understand. But like if I'm choosing work over events with that other person, it's very easy for them to quickly say like, you're choosing this over me. You want to do this more than me. Like you have no interest in me, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you feel so confident in this relationship style potentially functioning for you? Or I don't know if you do, but let's say you did. Like without real examples to tangibly draw from, or maybe you do, like how do you get to that point where you feel like, all right, I know I could do this long term at some point with somebody?
I don't know if I could do it long term. I don't know if I could do any relationship style long term though, like monogamy or anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I like to talk to a lot of different people. I think the things that I have generally going for me that aim me towards that direction is that one, I don't generally get jealous. So if my partner wants to do other things, it like frees me up to work and do stuff, and I don't have to worry about being their sole source of like romantic or sexual entertainment, which is nice for me. And then two, I super value experiences with multiple people. Like I think the happiest like sexual, romantic, whatever like time period or fulfillment in my life was when I first moved to LA. There were 3 different girls that I knew that I was seeing on like a pretty regular rotation. Like I could throw it up on my calendar like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like boom, 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 and that was like super emotionally fulfilling, fun. There were like 3 different people. I knew a lot about their lives. We could chat, we could go to movies, we had sex, like everything was like super cool. That was like probably the most fulfilling moments like long term that I had for some months doing that. That was super awesome. Yeah. But like finding other people that want to plug into that is obviously difficult for a variety of reasons.
Yeah. I think your selection's tough for a lot of different reasons. One, because you're already a pretty peculiar person, but also because like the relationship style that you want. So if you're not willing to do the compliment stuff and all that other shit, then it's going to be extra hard for you to make it work. No?
Almost certainly true, especially when other people become involved. People need the extra validation.
Yeah.
Because then they don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got to work on those skills, especially with your relationship style. Like, I can afford not to compliment people because I'm monogamous.
Sure.
But you especially can't afford to not do that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. Yeah. That's a thing that I've been trying to fixate on. Yeah.
That's good. How's it been looking at your own behavior throughout this whole process and like seeing all your faults and stuff like that? There's any part of you like, yo, I'm like 33, 35, but I feel like I should have seen this shit like a long time ago by myself, or like, how do you feel about seeing a lot of your own faults in this?
I think one of the biggest difficulties in life is, you don't do anything with music, right?
No, I don't know how to do the notes and stuff like that, no.
Okay, fuck. I don't know if this would apply to dancing. I know it applies to a lot of sports. One of the difficulty things in life is, if I say like a maladaptive behavior, does that mean anything to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. The difficulty in life is people think that maladaptive behaviors are just like completely bad. No. That's not true. Usually a maladaptive behavior that you've developed in response to some other event usually works really, really well for some things, but it'll leave you in an overall deficit in life.
Sure.
So it's hard for me sometimes to identify like what is a maladaptive behavior versus like what's I move through life like this and it's acceptable and I should do this. And I think one of the maladaptive behaviors I've developed in response to growing up is that like I tend not to look externally for almost anything because I feel like at the end of the day, I'm the only one that really cares about my shit. I'm the only one that can handle my shit, and I move through life like that exactly. Like it's either sink or swim. Like if I figure this out, if I work 20 hours a day, whatever the fuck I have.
Yeah, it's efficient and good for success in a lot of ways. To some degree.
Exactly. Yeah. So professionally, that's amazing. And then when I was in my working poorer period, it kept me afloat because I was willing to put in a fuck ton of hours if I was something right. So it's beneficial there. It's taking me way too long to identify, but I noticed in relationships, and this I learned especially a lot over the past month in retrospectively analyzing things that have gone wrong in my relationship, it's really bad in a relationship to like blame yourself for everything and be the sole source of like trying to fix things. Sure. Because at some point when you look back, I realized like two huge things happen. One is if you're not used to asking your partner for things, then they're used to never giving anything. So they'll just constantly see you as like, well, if this doesn't bother him or if this is okay, then I can just keep doing this. So that's a really negative thing. And it's not even completely their fault. It's because you're kind of training them that way. And the second big issue.
Being touched, is that an example?
Well, yeah, but that's like a bare minimum. I should never have to say that to somebody. I don't think I'm ever gonna have a conversation with a girl like, listen, I need you to not like aggressively grab me when we fight.
No. I meant like actually like intimate physical touch.
Oh,
like you might have a high demand for it, but if you don't vocalize it, then that person learns it. You don't really need it because you never asked for it. I'm asking if that's an example.
That could be an example, yeah. That wouldn't be an example with me, but that could be an example, yeah.
Okay.
And the issue will come that at some point you're going to cross a threshold where it's going to really fucking bother you. And when you bring that up in your mind, you're going to expect them to have realized the 20 different violations. But in their mind, they're like, you've been okay with this the whole time, so I just need to back up a little bit. And then you're going to be fighting way over here when you want to push it like way over here.
Sure.
Right? Because you've trained them to like basically not, like focus on your needs at all in the relationship, which is really bad. Yeah, that's the first maladaptive thing. Fuck, there was a second thing and I forgot it. But that's been. Oh, and then the second thing, well, it's like the flip side of that is like expecting like the other partner to put in work for the relationship and to not like blame yourself for every problem. Because I noticed that when I look at like issues where like things I've lied about, or if like things where I've like cheated, where things like this have come up, I've noticed in retrospect that when I look at this, like the reason why these are coming up is because I'm so scared to like bring up an issue or ask my partners, because I know that they're going to instantly shoot it down or be like, well, I'm going to break up if we do this. And it's like, this doesn't even make sense. That I basically like train myself like, okay, well, if I have a need or a want, I'm just going to go satisfy it on my own because I can't work as a team with my partner, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I think like in the future, going forward for like future relationships, I need to be, if I'm ever in a point where I feel like I'm uncomfortable stating a preference, I have to figure out what's going on. Am I fucking up my own ability to ask, or do I feel like I'm with a partner that's unreasonable, that's not letting me have my space in a relationship? That's been a really difficult thing to sort out, yeah. Because the super independent thing is so good for a lot of other things, but then it's really bad for healthy relationships. I think it's also a reason why I can navigate toxic relationships so unbelievably well, and that they give me such good content for stream, and that I can cut them off at the end and be like, oh, fuck it, it's good. It's because like I'm already used to being independent. I already expect like everybody's going to backstab me or just do some crazy shit anyway. So yeah, fuck it. Let's go and roll the dice. See what happens.
I'm planning my backstabbing date
too. Sure, yeah. And that's a good approach for the things that I do on stream and a lot of that. But for a healthy relationship, it's a incredibly destructive approach. Yeah.
Yeah, I think humans generally want to feel important to each other or like necessary to some degree.
Yeah.
And so not getting that from somebody always makes it feel like there's a threshold you're never able to cross in terms of closeness. Do you have that with anybody in your friend group? Like let's say like you have a very close friend. Think of your closest friend. Do they feel needed by you?
Do they feel, I'm trying to reach out to people more. There's a huge, like, it's not intellectual, and it's just something I have to get over, but emotionally, it can feel hard because I feel like I'm being burdensome. Like, why am I going to tell you, like, all this random shit about my life and, like, expect you to, like, fix my shit when, like, most of this is probably my fault, blah, blah, blah. Like, these are usually the feelings I run through my head. Like, I need to figure this out. And, like, yeah, if you want to share problems with me, that's cool. But, like, I'm not going to sit here and expect you to, like, play therapist for me as I try to, like, sort through my shit.
But is there, like, any part, beyond the feeling discomfortable with the idea of sharing that, is there a part of you that wants to be able to have that kind of relationship with people?
It's not so much about, like, wanting it. I think it's about, like, wanting to want it. Because, like, in my mind, I don't want it because it feels like it would always be horrible, but I just need to, like, change that feeling. Because especially over the past 2 weeks where I've been chatting with people, it has felt good. And there was another event going on in my past where it did feel good to, like, open up to people and talk and say, oh, you know what I feel? Like, it's not even just, like, the words. It's that I'm actually feeling, like, made whole emotionally a bit more by having these conversations. And it feels nice to, like, have somebody sharing a thing and get, like, some kind of, like, resonance, like, back and forth. I'm like, okay, yeah. So, yeah, it's just something I need to get over.
Yeah, I think if you were to look at things more analytically, you'd find that in your own personal life and your experiences, you've definitely had good outcomes when you've had those kind of relationships to be able to open up. So I think, logically speaking, it kind of tracks that you'd want to have those kinds of things beyond, like, whatever defensive emotions you've built up over time to say, no, I don't want these things. Because we all, like, have those kind of mental trains of thoughts where we're pushing ourselves not to do things that would be good for us, and we have that, like, feeling of discomfort, and we feel like it justifies us not taking that action. But in reality, we have to move past that and use our brain a little bit more to be like, no, even though I get this feeling of discomfort and there's a real feeling inside of me that tells me not to do this thing, it's not coming from a place that's actually in my better self-interest, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. It's like part of it is called decision paralysis, where there's, like, an uncomfortable hump, but then once you get over that, it's, like, all better. You just have to get over, like, that initial thing. And then a lot of it is just, like, really stupid thought patterns that I have to break out from, that we actually talked about earlier in relation to your mom, where it's like, if any of my friends messaged me and they were like, hey, like, I've got a huge problem, can we chat or whatever? Or I think even you actually did this with me, I think a month or two ago, where you had, like, a question about something. Like, not only, like, will I listen, I have never in my life had somebody like you or Peace. I've never had somebody reach out to me and ask to, like, talk about a problem, and I'm like, oh God, okay. Like, I'm always, like, happy, like, oh, the fact that you even trust me to, like, talk about this, so, like, yeah, I'll help if I can help and it actually helps. That makes me feel, like, really good. Yeah, like, I should be able to project that onto other people. They're like, oh, well, they might feel good to, like, hear me have a problem and, like, help me with some shit. Yeah,
I know, that's your dog. Really I know your dog should have asking that, so that's why I'd be asking him, like, yo, you good?
Yeah.
And I'm actually proud of you because you said, nah, I'm not.
Yeah, I did, because there have been a couple times. Yeah, there have been a couple times where people message me, and I want to say something, and I've gone back and I've tried to, like, rewrite some of these. And I was like, can I have, like, a stronger thing? Yeah, that's been really, really, really hard. Yeah.
So the feeling that you got when I messaged you to ask you about a problem is the feeling I got when I asked you that you told me.
Sure. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good.
Yeah. Fun times.
All right.
What do you think over the past, I'll ask you one more question. Yeah, I was just curious. Over the past, like, year or two, what do you think is, like, a huge, like, self-improvement or personal growth thing that you feel like you've had?
That's a good question.
While you're thinking about this, let's see what we got. Hold on. Somebody donated. Previous dono was mad. Both y'all got naked arms. Would you ever get tats? Okay. Happy birthday, have a drink on me. Thanks. Okay. So there was a dono insulting me that apparently disappeared. I don't know where it went, guys. I'm sorry. Previous dono was mad. Steven didn't call him back for cuddles. Get put of your feelings, bro. Stop paying for attention. One guy. Fuck. I don't know what he donated and said. Oh. Wow, Destiny. Conservative men have been saying this for years. It's almost as if you're a M or on and liberalism doesn't work. LOL. Use this 5 for help. Okay. Thank you. I'll do that.
You get a lot of those donos?
Sometimes, yeah.
I think I've just gotten a lot better at putting my pride to the side and doing what's necessary for relationships to function. Be it apologies, be it reaching out to somebody 3-4 times, even though my ego tells me it's not the right thing to do. You know, really putting in the effort into things that I really care about, so that if I ever have to walk away from them, then I'm like, I'm good. It happened with my last relationship where things didn't work out, and it was, you know, a lot of difficult circumstances involved, and someone loved a lot. But you know, I tried everything under the sun. It's something I never would have, because I was always the type of person. If you even point to the door, I'm already outside. You know, like if somebody wants me gone, like. But I've learned to go a lot of those extra miles to make sure, like, okay, before I leave, have we covered all of our bases? And I think that's been a huge point of growth, because I think my ego and my need to self-protect, my idea of like has kind of faded towards the back. And I think I've prioritized like the health of my friendships, my intimate relationships, my family relationships, and put those before anything relating to like my own self-preservation. Like I say not even self-preservation, like the preservation of like, what is it I'm protecting? I'm protecting myself from being even more hurt.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is something that I flip my mind on. And it's so hard because you can always see so many different actions from so many different perspectives, right? I would have considered it a strength. And I probably even said the example before. I would consider strength when a girl has problems with me, whatever. I'm like, okay, listen, I think I might have said exactly this to you when you, Brittany, Melina, and everybody were at the apartment last time a year ago. I'm like, listen, we have problems. I can walk the fuck away. Like, that's fine. If you don't like it, like, fucking go back to whatever. Like, fuck it. Let's move away, right? And in a way, like to other people and even to myself, and there's always the scariest thing is when you're like bullshitting yourself, because it's hard to tell sometimes because you can make so many rational decisions. I'm thinking like, this is a position of like pretty big like security and strength, because like I can walk away at any point in time because I know that I'm like good on my own. I like secure myself. I can figure this shit out. And yeah, you feel like, I feel like pretty secure. I feel like pretty good. But in another sense, are you actually like really secure, or are you actually too scared to fight and try for something? Because if you fail or fuck up, now you've exposed way more of yourself and you've made yourself way more vulnerable. Because it's easy to walk away depending on the type of person you are. It's a lot harder to fight for something that you might lose. Yeah, that's way harder. So yeah, that's what you're talking about there. I definitely understand that. Yeah,
and when you look back at certain relationships that have kind of fallen through, you have the hindsight now of like a bit more maturity, and you're like, would this relationship or friendship had survived if I had been more capable of just not leaving that door right away when it was shown to me? And so there's a bit of regret that sets into those little moments. And like, people say not to regret. I think regrets are okay so long as you don't like just die on that hill and like live that moment all the time.
And as long as you learn from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like, I don't know. I think it's hard to go through your entire life without any regrets, because you're lucky to meet amazing people at different points, and sometimes you take them for granted. Like, it's okay to say, I regret the way I handled that, and I'm going to use that to kind of fuel a better change in my life. So yeah, I feel a lot better about things now. So now when I leave and I walk away, I'm like, okay, I tried, and I can sleep well knowing I tried. And it's crazy because our intimate relationships are supposed to be like, especially if we're breathing towards something very serious, are supposed to be sometimes like the most important thing that we're supposed to work towards, because you want to build a family, et cetera, et cetera. But I find people put a lot more ability to like compromise, to sacrifice when it comes to their work or their friendships or even their hobbies than they would sometimes their own relationships. Sometimes we take relationships and like they're just supposed to work. It's like, no, they're not. And so I don't know. I learned that from my friendship and even my relationship with my roommate. Like, I've had the same roommate for 8 years. We've lived together. We don't have to, but I just like living with him. And we've been through so many things in life now at this point. And like, there's been so much of that compromise. And like, if that had been somebody I was dating, I would have kicked them out in 2 years. Sure. And I had an epiphany where I was like, wait, how is it that I'm putting more effort into this experience with the person I live with more than these relationships in terms of how, and then I looked around me and a lot of people kind of operate that way. So that's when I had to do some self-reflection.
Yeah, for sure. That's like the, I hear older successful couples talk about this sometimes, mainly, maybe even conservative generally, but that like, when you talk about love, that means a lot of different things. And in order for long-term relationships to work, that initial like romantic flurry of love, because that doesn't last forever and it can't last forever, you can't expect it to, has to be replaced with like a more foundational, solid, like worked on love, right? Like initially, like I met this girl and it was cool. We fucked every day for 3 months and we were going out on dates all the time. It was so magical, blah, blah, blah. And then when that started to fade away, everything was whatever, like it can be that, and then it fades away and you like lose your relationship, or you ride that new relationship energy and it's like we have like every Friday nights we schedule to go on dates. Like I always make sure that I tell her good morning. We always like chat about our work day. We always like make sure that on Saturday, like you like replace this with like more routines. You like integrate them into your life and you're doing like actual upkeep and work. Because like you said, like there are some things that you're willing to put a lot of work into, but I think sometimes people expect relationships to just like work, and then when they stop working, like, oh well, I'm ditching, instead of like being willing to like invest like energy and effort and time into like making them work.
I think the whole idea of structure that you mentioned is really interesting, because I'm like, I would tell people to most look at their relationships and tell themselves like, did you put the same amount of labor into maintaining your relationship that you did your job, and the kind of compromise you had to make there? And like, if the answer is no, then you have to question like your own effort in these things and how you contributed to them falling apart to some degree. And both people have to treat it that way in a sense. So, yeah, I know I've been pretty fortunate, be it from Preach, who I think gives me a lot of counsel on this, and even just watching him live, because he's been with his girl since he was a teenager, and like watching them make it work throughout all these years, and like all the when you have these kinds of examples that have made it work for so long, and you really see like, all right, it's healthy, at least from everything I can observe. It's crazy to realize the own deficiencies that you never saw because you're just like this. So I don't know. I think having good examples around you helps out a lot. I suspect that's also why, you know, whenever they bring up the stats, you know, kids from single parent households are going to struggle a lot more to maintain relationships than people from dual. I think it's just that having that example around you all the time of how to actually function throughout a lengthy relationship. I think that kind of builds little muscle memory things.
Yeah, I super agree with that. When I was like sorting through and like writing stuff down for the past 2 weeks, one of the friends that I had a conversation with, they were like, okay, well, what do you think would like be good boundaries for like your relationship writing going forward? And I'm like trying to like write these down and figure them out. And like this, like, I think like halfway through working with my friend like slaps me. Okay. And she's like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen you write in your entire life. Okay. So stop writing for yourself. Okay. Imagine you're giving a friend advice on how they would write shit. And then when I went back and looked at my shit, I'm like, yeah, fuck, I would change almost everything here. This is ridiculous. And then when I started to write it that way, I started to realize like, yeah, if I were to see any of these things in like another relationship, or maybe if I had more people around me in general that have like healthier, successful relationships, I'd probably look at a lot of my stuff a lot differently. Even for monogamous relationships, I don't know how many people in like the influencer world are like doing things well or okay. Actually, you know what the saddest thing is probably the most successful relationships, you just don't see anything publicly about them because they tend to do everything privately because they don't want all that shit on the internet. So it's hard to, yeah.
It is tough.
Yeah.
It is incredibly tough to have so many people, you know, being involved and making little snide comments and saying all these things, because these thoughts affect you. Like even you, when it comes to chat, you're be banning people and stuff like that. Like you're much more resilient than a lot of people. But I imagine if all these people were commenting on the relationship, for most relationship people or most streamers, it would affect them a lot.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't do this stuff publicly. God bless you guys.
Yeah. Good times.
Okay.
All right. Well, so your number one self-improvement was the ego ditching.
Yeah. Fighting for things that matter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. It's actually been great. Honestly, this is recent developments. In the last like year and a half, I've mellowed out so much. It feels great. Complimenting the people around, make sure they're really appreciated. All these little things that have just like brought me closer to a lot of people around me.
Do you ever get this? And
I'm like you too.
Yeah.
And I've always been I joined the military, had no friends, my family didn't support me. After that, started on my own like video editing business. Nobody supported, believed in anything like. But I had this maladaptive skill that you have, where it's like, I'm gonna do everything myself. And even when I got into working with Preach, that was a problem for us at some point, because even though he's a partner, because I had more of the labor and I felt like nobody else can handle it, I'm going to fix it. Yeah. It didn't help him feel more involved. And so I'm much happier now in our latter years that I've been Preach Face, because he does a lot more of the labor, much more a lot of the creative input, which takes a burden off my shoulders, but also makes him feel like it matters more to him as well. So that process and that change has been good too.
Cool. Wow. Yeah. Are you working on any other projects coming up besides like the Evan Preach channel? Or are you still just kind of like chilling, or?
I have little things that I have in mind. We'll see. I have to set up meetings to learn how to set up the infrastructure, because, you know, once you do content on YouTube and like you're running a channel just yourself and you got your editor, once you want to do bigger things, everything scales up. And then now it's no longer what I can do. Now it's like getting the right people in place, set up the right infrastructure. And it's all skill sets that you can't have. I literally can't like find sets, get actors, get extras, find the right equipment for everything. Like if you try to do it all yourself, you're going to be overwhelmed with things you're already doing. So that's
one of the hardest things for like the growth of like a small businessman, and I think where a lot of people get trapped in being a small businessman, is that typically to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a huge interest, a huge drive, like huge passion, huge like internal motivation, which are all really great skills for a solo project and for an entrepreneur for like a small business. And these are skills that are horrible once you want to grow, because when it comes time to scale, now your decision to like, you want to micromanage, control everything, these are detriments, these are liabilities now, because you have to be able to hand a project off to a guy who's like, listen, I trust you to do this, and even if it's only 95% of what I can do, having 100 people working at 95% of what I can do is better than me trying to do one or two things at 100%. That's a really hard thing to like let go and give to other people.
Hasn't that been for you, like running the podcast or a lot of the other stuff? Like, it's been tough for you to set up that infrastructure. Thankfully you have connections. So for example,
I said now I like offload it to other people. Like 5 or 6 years ago, it was really hard to be like, should I let a person edit a channel? Do I want to do these things on my own? But yeah, that was a hard thing. But yeah, once you start doing that, it's like a huge sigh of relief, and it's like a big, yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Well,
this is good.
everybody. Yeah, I'll see you. You're not coming to dinner tonight.
No, I'm gonna go say hi to the Canadian friend. Chit chat. Oh, is it loud in the back if we talk?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always let them know.
You guys want to come out and have
they've
a
been
little?
quiet this whole time. I feel bad for my Canadian sister.
Oh yeah, she's really sad. If you want to come out and have a little dance or something, you can do that in the back.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not gonna do that to you round 2. I still can't believe that was such a big deal. But again, that's just perspective.
Okay. Yeah. Have fun. Be careful. Okay.
Will do. You got a washer?
Why?
Washer and dryer in this place?
Yeah. Why?
Can't use it after stream?
Why do I always need washer and dryer? I normally would be.
Because I went out dancing last night.
Yeah.
And then
I normally wouldn't have a problem, but Lycan is using my washer right now, so he's got a bunch of stuff. Yeah. There's a studio downstairs.
I'll ask him when I see him.
Yeah. There's a studio downstairs that I think has a washer and dryer in it. You could text him and ask him for the code and the stuff to get in there, and you could do it there. I think it's fine. Yeah. Okay.
Destiny, you're doing a great job.
Thanks, bud. I'm trying my best. Boom. Okay. Wow.
You look good like this.
Oh, shut the fuck. What the fuck is that? What is? Oh, you got a fucking Polaroid? Holy shit. Actual teenage girl energy.